Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Superman's Survival Guide. Chapter 21. Originally, there should be no intersection between the two, but Link has become famous in New York recently, and Tony Stark came to New York to check the progress of Stark Tower. Of course, some business partners still need to meet, and Pepper Potts directly arranged a cocktail party. They talked about playing cards and mentioned Link, a master who has recently become famous. Tony Stark then remembered the guy who won $5 million from him. He immediately asked for Link's phone number. Link had participated in many card games before, and the funds involved were more or less. Those gamblers had the easiest money to win, and they had a lot of money, so they were easily addicted. Technical games often win the least, so Link needs to design traps to win more. This time, Tony Stark told him on the phone that the card game would be big, but Link never thought he would lose. Anyway, he would sign a check in the end, so he didn't need to bring cash. Jessica looked at Link in surprise and asked, "Is it really Stark?" "Of course, didn't I say that?" Link said with a smile. "I won $5 million from him." I was so surprised. Jessica was shocked. The next day, the two went out for dinner. Link sent Jessica back and then picked out his clothes, shirts, ties, cufflinks, watches, and leather shoes. At the same time, he brought his own weapons, which were covered with a suit jacket. Link brought a checkbook and 3 cigars. "How is it?" Link turned around and looked at Jessica and asked. "Great." Jessica helped Link adjust his tie, "but don't worry too much about winning or losing." "Don't worry, Stark is not my opponent." Link gave Jessica a reassuring look. "Go downstairs and drive," rushing all the way to a big hotel, where there are special rooms available. "Mr. Stark." Link saw Tony Stark after entering. "I didn't expect you to come so early." "Of course, I'm the challenger this time, so I won't be late." Tony Stark invited Link to sit aside. "What would you like to drink?" "Bourbon." Link then took out a cigar. "I learned a lot in Las Vegas last time, cigars and bourbon." "Yes, you have to learn to enjoy life, but I heard that you have made playing cards your career." Tony Stark asked, "And you haven't lost so far?" "I haven't lost yet, but if I participate in international competitions, I don't have enough confidence." Link looked modest. "After all, I still lack experience in this kind of professional competition. Maybe I'll try it in the future, there are professionals there." "You may not be able to beat me today." Stark raised his eyebrows. "There will be 2 more people in a while. One is a director of the bank, and the other one you know, Justin Hammer. Are you still willing to play cards with us, Mr. Hammer?" Link's expression was a little weird. "Haha," Tony Stark laughed. "He is a man who never admits defeat." The tone was full of joking, probably because Stark provoked him to come again. Soon, the other 2 arrived, and Justin Hammer really refused to admit defeat and said to Link, "Today we are playing 13 cards, I will not lose again." "As long as you like it," Link replied with a smile. Tony Stark sat down and said, $10,000 per card, double as normal, 10 million chips, no problem." "No problem." All 3 said no problem. Then the hotel service staff was responsible for dealing the cards, and Link still lost first and then won, but he didn't lose much this time, and then he won a lot. This way of playing is actually similar to Texas Hold'em. Each person has 13 cards, and a deck of cards is thrown out of the big and small jokers. Then play the cards. Whoever plays all the cards first wins, and the rules of the big and small rules of playing cards are calculated according to the rules of Texas Hold'em. And the others lose as many thousands of US dollars as the cards they have left. Link drank bourbon, smoked cigars, and won easily. Tony Stark asked curiously, "Can you still use psychology here?" "Of course, but this is a secret." Link smiled mysteriously. "If I tell it now, how can I win?" "That's right." Tony Stark nodded slightly. Link said while playing cards, "I just asked the accounting firm to buy Stark Industries stocks yesterday. Will it appreciate recently?" "Ha, this is a wise decision." Stark smiled. "Anyway, you won't lose money." "I think so too. After all, the tax season is coming soon, and I need to prepare in advance." Link said. This time it was a little hasty. "After all, I am a poor man who has become rich. I think you can handle this situation well." Stark had a good impression of Link. This kind of play is actually not small, because there is also a doubling rule. Link won more than 10 million in 2 hours, which is almost half of the chips of the 3 people. Take a break for a while. Those who need to go to the toilet go to the toilet. Link doesn't need it, so he ate some snacks here. The game ended before midnight, and Link became the biggest winner again. After receiving 3 checks, Link gave the waiter a $500 tip. Tony Stark then said admiringly, "You are really amazing. There is no hope of winning when playing cards with you. Can you tell me now?" The other 2 people were also curious, and Link said, "After you 3 pick up the cards, when you sort them out, the flaws will be the biggest. You will have to understand the rest." Stark frowned and thought for a while, then asked, "Are you judging based on our actions and eyes?" "Almost, and you need to count the cards. I have 13 cards in my hand. Based on your actions, I can estimate what cards you have in your hands and how to combine them." Link's words surprised the 3 of them. "Okay. But genius is difficult to understand." Stark said, "It's really amazing. Why don't you dare to participate in the competition if you are so awesome?" "I can only be considered a dabbler now. For those professionals, I may not be able to think of anything they can think of, and it's even harder to find their flaws." Link said, "I still need to hone it. What I like most now is the technical game." Quote, "There are many elites in New York, and they all have their own ideas. They are all good opponents." After the card game ended, Justin Hammer was quite happy because Tony Stark also lost. The 2 were tied twice and both were losers. He has been teasing Tony Stark, but Tony Stark is not the one above, and he plans to go back and use Jarvis to summarize. As for the bank director, he had no interest in Link and had been looking for topics with Stark. When Link returned home, Jessica was asleep on the sofa in the living room, obviously waiting for him. Link walked over and turned off the TV, then picked Jessica up. "Oh, you're back?" Jessica asked, drowsily asleep. "I'm back, go to sleep," Link said softly. He put Jessica on the bed in the master bedroom, then took off her clothes and walked into the bathroom. The next morning, Jessica suddenly sat up, then turned to look at Link. Link opened his eyes and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "Won," Jessica asked with wide eyes. Link laughed and said, "Of course I won, $30 million, how about it?" "Really?" Jessica looked like she couldn't believe it, so many. "Haha," Link stood up, pulled Jessica over for a kiss. "Okay, get up, I still have things to do today. I want to cash the check as soon as possible and then buy stocks." "Yes, otherwise you will have to pay a lot of taxes." Jessica stood up hurriedly, "I'll make you a sandwich." After having breakfast, Link was sent out of the house by Jessica. He first went to the bank to cash the check, and then went to the accounting office again to ask Langley to continue buying Stark Industries stocks. Langley Owsley was very surprised, but he did not inquire, but promised to buy the most shares of Stark Industries as soon as possible. Link left with satisfaction and turned around to go to a nearby bank. However, he did not handle any business. Instead, he stared at the people who opened the safe, or at the managers here to see if they had the same clothes on them. Link considered several points. First, the bank should be large, with adequate security and a strict security system. The second is not to register the information, only to recognize the key but not the person, so that it can be kept confidential. Considering the above 2 points, there are not many banks that Link needs to observe. He found 2 nearby banks, and it turned out that the safe keys of the 2 banks were different. He could only expand the scope. Langley would not put things in a bank that he had a relationship with, so after expanding the scope, Link still screened. He is not in a hurry. He is the only one to do this task, and it is not easy, so Coulson will not rush him. As long as you give the result yourself in the end, it will be considered outstanding, especially the result you give yourself, which may be a little shocking. Link didn't find it that day, so he returned home and picked up Jessica to go out for dinner. Without Trish this time, the 2 were in a world of 2. After dinner, they went to watch a movie. For 3 consecutive days, Link searched. On the 3rd day, he finally found the last bank. But it was already late, and he left here directly. As for whether there is Langley's safe here, he still needs to see it tomorrow. Jessica was holding a notebook and looking at job recruitment information. She was thinking about what she should do. Link's reminder is right. Find a job that you like. But I really seem to like to get to the bottom of things. Do I want to be a police officer? Link used to be a police officer, but he has resigned and becomes an agent himself. However, after becoming an agent, it seems that she doesn't have much time to spend with Link. Jessica is a little worried. She doesn't want to make more money than Link or catch up with Link. Do she want to be a housewife? Jessica was a little reluctant, but at this moment Link opened the door and came back. Jessica hurriedly got up and helped Link take off his jacket. Link had been wearing a jacket when going out these days. Are you done? Jessica bit her lip and asked. Yes, what about you? Link asked, are you bored at home? No, I'm just looking for a job online, but there doesn't seem to be any job suitable for me. Jessica said with some annoyance. The police are not suitable, and agents are too time-consuming. Link thought for a while, and it was indeed true. If Jessica went to work, it would have a big impact on the lives of the two of them, especially some special jobs. Originally, Link thought about dragging her into S.H.I.E.L.D., but now that he thought about it, he decided not to. In the future, he would have the opportunity to get her a vibranium suit, but this was for protection, not for her to fight. I have no intention of revealing my superpowers, being an excellent agent is enough. Link hugged Jessica, sat down for a while, and suddenly said, I think we can set up a charitable foundation, a foundation specifically for legal aid. On the one hand, it can be tax-free, and on the other hand, it can help some people. What do you think? You are responsible for managing this foundation and selecting a law firm with a sense of justice to cooperate with. Link thought of Daredevil. If Jessica was not suitable to go out to work, then she would not work and establish a charity fund for her to manage, which would also be paid. Jessica blinked. She had never thought about this proposal before, but it was really a good idea. Can I? Jessica asked. You can learn first. After all, my money has just been used to buy Stark Industries stocks, and running a foundation is not that easy, so we can take it slowly. Link said. We don't need to become famous, just do it quietly. After all, I am not a public figure. I am just a professional gambler. There is no need for publicity in this regard. How about you study first? Okay, I'll learn and see if I can do it. Jessica nodded. She was very moved by this proposal. But there is also a problem now, that is, the two are not married, and she has no idea about the future, especially her superpowers, which Link does not know. Everything is unknown, and she can only take one step at a time. Link came to the bank the next day, hoping to see the safe deposit business here. The manager warmly invited Link to visit, which was a very important step. A huge safe deposit box, which contained rows of small safe deposit boxes. Link opened his X-Vision and looked at them one by one, and said at the same time, you only need keys here, right? Yes, Mr. Lin, we don't register individuals here. The rental fee of the safe deposit box is paid in one lump sum, such as 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. The manager introduced the situation. When you need to use it, just bring the key. We only register the number on the key. Link did not see the whole appearance of the key, so he did not see the number, but he did not need to know. At this time, he could see what was in all the safe deposit boxes. What he was looking for was files, hard drives, USB drives, disks and the like. Soon, he found a lot of targets, wrote them down, and then said, very good, then I will rent one, and I will bring things to store it tomorrow. No problem. The manager immediately handled it for Link, and indeed only registered the number on the key. Link took the key and left. He will come to check the specific situation tomorrow. In addition, how to open the safe is a problem. Destruction is definitely not possible, and only wire can be used to unlock. These safes are not connected to the alarm system, and there is no monitoring system inside. After all, the customer's storage is confidential. Therefore, Link can use wire to unlock, but the speed must be fast, and speed is the least lacking. As for what to store, Link has his own ideas, cash, weapons, and documents. As an agent, it is necessary to have some backup safety points. As an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., his documents can be changed, and of course he can also get ordinary documents from different institutions. He left the bank and drove directly to the New York branch of S.H.I.E.L.D. He took an ordinary FBI document and then returned home. Jessica was not there, she went to find Tracy. The next day, Link carried a suitcase with $50,000, a Glock 19, 4 spare magazines, and an FBI certificate. When he came to the bank again, the manager took him to the safe, then closed the door and let him stay inside. Link observed again and confirmed that there was no surveillance equipment. Then there were afterimages. Link used super speed to open all the safes he observed yesterday, checked that it was not what he was looking for, and immediately locked it again. In just 1 minute, he found the target, took out the things inside and started taking pictures. These were indeed various evidences of money laundering in Langley's hands, not just from 1 or 2 families but also paper documents. Link still used super speed to take pictures. 5 minutes later, his time was up. Generally, he would not be allowed to stay here for too long. Link walked out with an empty box, said goodbye to the manager, walked out of the bank and drove home. He used a digital camera. After returning home, he took out the memory card and checked it with a laptop. Most of them were records of fund circulation. He found the United Construction Company, and there were some problems with its accounts. Link extracted the part about United Construction Company and sent it to Coulson by email. Soon, Coulson called and said happily, "Lynn, you are very efficient. You got such detailed information so quickly. Wilson Fisk himself is not easy to investigate, but United Construction Company is easy to investigate." Link said, "However, the specific purpose of the forces supporting Fisk is not clear for the time being. If it is to make money or launder money, then there is no need for such a large support." "Yes, I think so too. You still need to continue the investigation," Coulson said. "By the way, I still have evidence of Langley Owsley laundering money for other criminal groups. Should I send it to you?" Link asked. "Sure, send them all." Coulson thought about it, and then said, "With these, SHIELD can have more funds. Aren't we a global organization?" Link said in a surprised tone, "Why are we still short of funds?" "It is because we are a global organization that we lack funds. You must know that the approval of funds is not a matter for one company." Coulson actually didn't know much about the funding issue. Link laughed in his heart. Nick Fury secretly mobilized funds to build safe houses and bases around the world. Naturally, the funds were not enough. "Okay, I'll send it to you immediately, but I have made a contribution now, right?" Link asked. "Of course, and the contribution is not small, but you were promoted to level 6 by exception, so there is no reward this time." Coulson reminded him. "Okay, I'll keep up the good work." Link knew that Hawkeye was a level 6 agent. He was a person that Nick Fury trusted more, and Natasha Romanoff was still level 6 because of her intelligence ability. Black Widow was originally the target of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s elimination, but Hawkeye did not choose to eliminate her when he was executing it, but recruited her. Relatively speaking, it is difficult for her to gain Nick Fury's trust, and Link was not trained by S.H.I.E.L.D. itself, and he is probably still in the probation period. He carried out this mission for a bigger purpose of probation. After all, Wilson Fisk was just a gang leader on the surface, not worth S.H.I.E.L.D.'s action. Link sent all the remaining files and deleted them from the computer. He only saved the photos. However, he did not plan to keep this memory at home. He planned to put it in the safe deposit box of the bank. He was indeed lucky. This safe deposit box was used again. Link was very happy. This was an interesting job that brought a little fun to life. The next day, Link asked Jessica to dress up and then drove to the gallery again. Vanessa's last dinner with Fisk was not smooth. She was a little confused at this time, but she still smiled and greeted him, "Mr. Lin, welcome again. You can call me Lin. This is still my girlfriend Jessica Jones. I was in a hurry last time and didn't have time to introduce you." Link shook hands with the other party and then introduced Jessica. After Vanessa and Jessica greeted each other, they asked, "Are you here to continue choosing this time?" "Yes, but I'm not in a hurry. The decorations in the house will be used for a long time, so I need to take it seriously. This is very important to us, and we have plenty of time." Link said. "Okay, then let's start from the last place." Vanessa guided them to continue the tour. She didn't say much, but accompanied them on the side and paid attention to the situation of other guests. Link knew the value of the paintings here and had a good idea in his mind. The paintings here were painted by the same painter, and Link already knew the information. This man is very talented and has some fame. The price of his paintings is generally below 100,000 US dollars, but he is still young. It is good to have such achievements in his 30s. His future works have great room for appreciation, and some of the exhibits here are fine works. Link stopped in front of one of them and looked at it carefully. It felt good and had a sense of space. It was a good choice to put it in the living room. Vanessa, I want this one. Link turned to Vanessa and said. Lynn, you really surprised me. Vanessa was really surprised. Link's vision was really great. Link smiled politely and said, I just respect my own feelings. This painting has a strong sense of space. I think it is suitable for my living room. What I like most is the glass ceiling above the living room. The sense of space is very open. They match well. Indeed, this is one of the painter's proud works. There is a lot of room for appreciation in the future, and now it only costs 80,000 US dollars. Vanessa introduced the price. Lynn, do you want to continue or buy it first? Of course, continue. One painting in the living room is not enough. I chose two today. Both are prepared to be placed in the living room. I hope there will be satisfactory works. Link will not buy all at once, and he will not just hang one person's paintings. Intelligence gathering is a meticulous job. Link continued, of course, I can't buy all oil paintings. Do you have any other friends? Of course, but what kind of art do you want to buy? Vanessa asked. Link turned to Jessica and asked, Dear, do you like anything? I don't know about these, just make the decision. I feel that the painting you bought last time is very suitable for the restaurant, but we haven't cooked yet. Jessica is very smart. If Link hadn't appeared, she would have experienced a huge change and would have been a private detective in the future. She is very good at investigating, analyzing, and collecting intelligence. Link said, What do you think of the sculpture? The main color of the house is white. The designer's blank space is to add our own color. I first used photos, and then oil paintings, especially this colorful abstract painting. Then I think the sculpture is a suitable decoration. Well, it's a good choice. Jessica thought about it, and it seemed to be true. What do you think, Vanessa? Link asked Vanessa again. Vanessa thought for a moment and said, It's true, but most Western sculptures are monotonous in color. Lynn is Chinese. Are you interested in Eastern art? Of course I am interested, especially porcelain. This is a good idea. Link looked happy. But I don't understand this aspect. Porcelain is about color on the one hand and age on the other. I don't understand antiques. You must introduce me to a businessman who is as honest and reliable as you. No problem, I promise. Vanessa agreed with a smile. Link continued to visit and bought another work for the living room. It looked like a starry sky, but this one was not too abstract, or the starry sky was too different, and you could see it at a glance. A total of 140,000 US dollars, and it was delivered at 10 o'clock the next morning. The delivery was responsible for installation, which was very worry-free. Link and Vanessa agreed on a time to go to another place to see Eastern porcelain, and then left. At the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson reported Link's achievements to Nick Fury, who was very satisfied. Very good. It seems that his intelligence gathering ability is good, and the intelligence this time is very valuable. Coulson, I will give this task to you now, but you must keep it secret. Nick Fury was very tempted by the wealth recorded here. This is money that does not go through the accounts of S.H.I.E.L.D. Secretly deal with these guys, don't touch the United Construction Company for now, and deposit the funds into the secret account. Yes, sir. Coulson agreed without asking. Coulson turned and left. Nick Fury looked at Link's information and felt that this person was good, whether in combat ability or intelligence gathering, but he also had a question, why is this person so powerful? He only knows psychology and has been trained in the police academy. Is this a genius? Of course, Nick Fury did not doubt anything too much, because the other party was recruited by themselves, not by others. And the other party now seems to like this exciting industry. After all, the speed of his wealth increase is too fast. He is not short of money, nor is he short of means to make money. Looking at his past experience, especially after being a policeman, there is no problem. Nick Fury focused on observing for the sake of his future Avengers. There are not many people with extraordinary abilities now, and not many people can join. Even if there are in the future, there will be some people who obey his orders. The more people among the Avengers, the better. Although Hawkeye and Black Widow are powerful, they are ordinary people. It is necessary to add Link, who is similar. Even if the Avengers cannot be formed, it is also good to have a team of agents with advanced combat effectiveness led by Coulson. Now Link's ability is very strong, especially this time he got a large amount of funds, so he can build more security points. Link didn't know these. After receiving the oil painting, he asked the workers to hang it up and sat in the living room with Jessica to appreciate it. "It's great, dear, you have a good idea." Jessica felt good. "Tracy introduced me to a charity foundation, I can go to learn." "It's a good idea," Link agreed, "but we should buy a car, and then find you a driver and a part-time bodyguard." "No need." Jessica didn't want Link to spend too much. Link insisted, "This is necessary. After all, if you run a foundation in the future, do you have to take the subway every day?" "Okay." Jessica accepted it and snuggled in Link's arms. She felt very happy. At the same time, she was also a little scared, afraid of losing this happiness, so she made a decision, that is, to train herself so that she could master the power. This was a question she had never thought about before. She never liked this power, so she had never trained, but now it was very necessary. A few days later, Link made an appointment with Vanessa to see Oriental porcelain, and Jessica was very busy these days. On the one hand, she went to the charity fund to learn management, and on the other hand, she hired a coach. The best way to control power is actually fighting. Jessica also realized whether Link's wealth would increase. Because Link had arranged a bodyguard for him, she originally thought she didn't need it, but now it seems necessary because she doesn't want to expose her power. Tracy suggested that she learn to fight, even use firearms, control her own power, and protect herself with weapons, so that she can avoid being discovered by superpower to the greatest extent. Jessica began to train secretly, and Link was not clear for the time being. The price of Oriental antiques has increased in recent years, but it has not reached a sky-high price yet. Link's purchase at this time is just right. He felt that he was lucky. After all, he had not considered this issue before, and his current home did not have such a large space for storage. Now it is enough to buy some ornaments as decoration. After all, this is the Marvel Universe. Maybe an accident will vanish at any time. Link did not have any hobbies in this regard. After Vanessa's introduction, the other party had a good reputation and could provide a carbon-14 test report. Coulson had also given relevant information before, so Link could buy it with confidence. He bought quite a lot this time, but the overall price was not as much as the cost of oil paintings. Link was lucky. He bought mainly porcelain from the Yuan and Ming dynasties this time. Some of them will become decorations at home, and the other part will be collected first. Vanessa saw that Link liked these porcelains very much. She introduced the business well this time. "Thank you very much," Link said to Vanessa after buying it. "If it weren't for you, an expert, I wouldn't be able to buy such a good thing. You are too polite. I still hope you will continue to buy my paintings," Vanessa said. "Of course, after all, there are still a few rooms that have not been decorated, but I don't plan to continue buying the works of this painter. Remember to notify me of your next exhibition," Link said. "In addition, I plan to set up a charity fund to specifically fund legal matters. You know, I used to be a policeman. Now I have money and I want to do something. And I also want to find something for Jessica to do," Vanessa said enviously. "You are so good to her. You and Mr. Fisk." Link only mentioned it briefly. Vanessa shook her head and said, "I don't know either." Link didn't ask more questions. This topic was just enough, but he turned to invite, "To express my gratitude, how about I treat you to lunch?" "Okay," Vanessa agreed. Link treated the other party to lunch, then sent him back to the gallery before saying goodbye and leaving. However, his behavior was known by Wilson Fisk, and his right-hand man and friend James Wesley reported to him. "Did they have any intimate behavior?" Fisk asked. "No, it was just a polite thank you," James Wesley said. "Well, help me organize some card games, and then invite Lynn to participate." Fisk actually organized a card game. "Okay, but who should I invite?" James Wesley asked. "Mrs. Gao and Langley." Fisk thought about it, then said. Link received the call and readily agreed. It seems that Fisk cares about Vanessa's affairs and has been paying attention to it. Link had not thought of organizing a card game so quickly, but it was in his plan. He could have not invited Vanessa to dinner, but in order to attract Fisk, he deliberately invited her under the pretext of thanking her. Vanessa usually doesn't eat with guests, but Link is not an ordinary guest. On the one hand, he knows Fisk, and on the other hand, he has deepened his relationship with Vanessa, and he has a girlfriend. He has no desire for Vanessa. On the day of the card game, Link packed up and was sent out of the house by Jessica. He drove to the place prepared by Fisk. However, he had to be searched before entering the door. Link handed over his gun and was allowed in. Mr. Fisk. Link took the initiative to extend his hand, shook hands with the other party and said, "I didn't expect you to invite me. I do have something to ask, so I organized this card game. Let me introduce it." Mrs. Gao and Langley were both here. They came in advance. The two were very surprised that Fisk organized the card game. Langley recognized Link as soon as he came in, so he said, "Mr. Lin, long time no see. Do you know each other?" Fisk asked curiously. "Yes," Link said, "my financial affairs are entrusted to Mr. Osley's accounting firm. He recently helped me buy a large number of Stark Industries stocks. Tax season is coming soon. I must use the funds, otherwise the taxes I have to pay will be enough to make me sleepless." Langley smiled and said, "Yes, but time is too short. Now I can only temporarily buy more stable stocks to preserve value." "That's really a coincidence," Fisk suddenly realized, and then said, "This is Mrs. Gao. She has a lot of properties in New York." "Hello, madam." Link shook hands with the other party. And Mrs. Gao said in Chinese, "Hello, Mr. Lin. It seems that we will have a lot of common language. I just bought some antique porcelain recently. I wonder if Mrs. Gao is interested in this." Link also used Chinese. James Wesley helped Fisk translate in his ear. This person has a strong learning ability and is proficient in multiple functional languages. He is Fisk's right-hand man. "Is Lin Xinsheng a new immigrant?" Mrs. Gao asked. "No, our family has been here for 4 generations, but we all speak Chinese at home. Unfortunately, my parents had a car accident, and now there is no one at home to speak to me." Link looked regretful. Then the card game started, with $1,000 per card, which was much smaller than what Tony Stark and his friends were playing. Link still looked like he was observing, while Fisk was talking more. "Lin, how is Vanessa now?" "Wilson, you shouldn't ask me this." Link smoked a cigar. "I met her a few days ago, but I don't know about what happened between you. I only mentioned a few words. It seems that Vanessa is hesitating. You should be bolder." Mrs. Gao and Langley looked at each other. They didn't agree with Fisk's distraction now, but it was not easy to bring it up in this occasion. And Fisk invited the two of them for his own purpose. He wanted to show his attitude, which Link didn't know. If you decide, you have to do it. If you hesitate too much, you will lose. Link encouraged Fisk. Even if he didn't encourage him, he was a decisive person. Link used this to bring the two closer. "You're right, there were some unpleasant things during the previous dinner. It was my fault," Fisk said calmly. "I will invite her again." "That's right, I believe Vanessa will come." Link continued to encourage. The card game didn't last long. It was organized forcefully, but Link finally left with a check for 1 million. He got his pistol back at the door, checked that there was nothing wrong, then got in the car and left. However, he didn't leave too far. After driving for a while, he found a restaurant on the side of the road, parked the car at the door, got out of the car and walked in. Ordering an apple pie and a glass of milk, Link listened quietly. "Fisk, you shouldn't be distracted at this time." Mrs. Gao was obviously dissatisfied with Fisk's behavior. "Our career is at a critical moment." "I don't think my matter will affect our career." Fisker obviously disagreed with this statement, "and this is my personal matter and is not within the scope of our cooperation." Langley said from the side, "That would be the best, but for her, you crushed Anatoly's mind with the door." "Is this what you mean by having no impact?" Link listened. He knew who Anatoly was, one of the leaders of the Russian gang, the other being his brother Vladimir. When their brothers fought against the Irish before, they were completely at a disadvantage. Until Fisk's forces intervened, the Irish gang was overwhelmed, and now they can only survive. Vladimir thinks this matter was done by masked men, and they have been failing and will be kicked out of our team sooner or later. Fisk said. I will replace them and complete the last step. Mrs. Gao was obviously dissatisfied and said, okay, let's do this for now. I hope you will do what you say, but who is that Lin? Why would he know both Vanessa and Langley? Isn't it an intelligence officer or someone from another gang? Langley shook his head and said, I just helped him buy stocks worth $60 million US. He can't be an intelligence agent. Which intelligence agency would spend such a large amount of money? Link smiled slightly when he heard this, then picked up the spoon, scooped out a large piece of apple pie and put it into his mouth. He played cards with Tony Stark a few days ago and 30 million won in a few hours. How can such a person be an agent? Mrs. Gao nodded slightly. Langley was right. No intelligence agency would pay so much money to send an undercover agent in. Fisk also said, when I was discussing cooperation with Mrs. Alexandra, I met him in Las Vegas, so he had no problems and no need to worry. Besides, I will arrange things. The three of them then dispersed. Link also finished the apple pie and drank the milk in one gulp. Then he drove and quietly followed Mrs. Gao. One of the 5 fingers of the hand in the society, Mrs. Gao is Link's focus. He first determines the location of her drug factory in Hell's Kitchen, and then tries his best to record it and discovers the secret of the hand in the society. In this way, the mission is completed. He doesn't need to follow closely behind and directly conducts over-the-horizon tracking so that no one can detect him. It was very smooth to find Mrs. Gao's factory. She was very interested in it. Even at night, she still came here, as if she lived nearby. This old lady was using a cane and had difficulty walking, but Link didn't dare to underestimate her. She was also an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years. Link parked the car far away, then walked closer and observed it carefully with X-ray vision. This was a warehouse with a very high rack inside. Link jumped directly to the roof, and then hung upside down on the edge position, holding a miniature camera to capture the scene inside. At the same time, he listened to Mrs. Gao's movements. However, Mrs. Gao obviously had no intention of contacting Alexandra. When she came back at night, it turned out that she was going to ship the goods tomorrow, not simply to pay attention to it. Link jumped down directly, landed silently, and then left quietly. He listened remotely again, then started the car and left. When they got home, Jessica had already fallen asleep. Link went into the dressing room, took off his clothes and went to the bathroom to wash up. Then he slowly moved to the bed and fell asleep. Early the next morning, Jessica woke up and saw Link lying next to her. She felt relieved, then got up and went to the kitchen. She purchased some kitchen appliances, took out slices of bread and put them in the toaster, then took out vegetables, ham, peanut butter, etc. from the refrigerator. When Link got up, there were already sandwiches and hot milk. Jessica looked at him with a sweet smile, and Link started eating. This tastes pretty good. After all, what you are actually eating is the taste of the sauce. Link gives a thumbs up to indicate that it tastes good as an encouragement. Then Link took out a check and said, I won yesterday, but there were some problems with yesterday's card game. It's not my problem, it's some problems between Mr. Fisk and his partners. The atmosphere was not very good, so it ended a little awkwardly. It was Mr. Fisk's personal contribution. We will go to the bank to cash it out later, and then go buy a car. No problem, Jessica asked. No problem. Mr. Fisk is mainly concerned about Vanessa, but I don't know much about this aspect. Link said, I am only participating in the card game, and their problems have nothing to do with us. Okay, I'm going to wash up. Jessica turned around to wash up. Link wiped out his breakfast, then washed the dishes and went to get dressed. The two came to the bank, and after cashing the check, Link opened an account for Jessica, deposited the money into her account, and prepared a checkbook. The two then went to the car dealership, and Link took a fancy to the 7th-generation Rolls-Royce Phantom. The reason for choosing this car was mainly because Jessica could not drive. In the future, as a manager of a charity fund, Jessica must pay attention to her identity and status. This is a car suitable for sitting in the back. Jessica readily agreed, and Link placed an order directly. After paying the full amount, the next step was to wait. Anyway, there was no rush now, but he could find a driver in advance. It is not easy to hire a driver. It is not that no one applies for this job, but it is not easy to find one that meets your requirements. Of course, the most critical issue is trust. Link put a recruitment advertisement in the newspaper. There was no salary issue, but the requirements were very harsh: not smoking and drinking, having vehicle driving and maintenance experience, having certain combat capabilities, protecting the safety of the employer, etc. There are too many requirements, but there is no mention of salary. People with real ability should be able to come out, and the salary will not be low, but some short-sighted people are dismissive. Link only left his phone number, but there were not many people calling. Link would ask a few questions on the phone, especially the other person's resume, and then search for it in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s database. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s database is very large, and it can even use the databases of the FBI and CIA, so these people cannot escape Link's review. Some of them were capable, but some things in their past were not good, so Link gave them a pass. Anyway, it would take 2 months to wait for the car, so he was not in a hurry. The key now was how to keep an eye on Mrs. Gao. Now there is no need to follow Langley Owsley's line, and there is no need to follow Wilson Fisk's line. His affairs are not within the scope of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s management. Link made a call to Coulson. "Coulson, I found the person behind Fisk." "Oh." Coulson perked up. "Who is it?" "Alexandra Reed, who appeared once before in my gambling game in Las Vegas. A Chinese-American Madame Gao appeared in the card game organized by Fisk a few days ago." Link said. The two should be part of the same organization. But that Alexandra doesn't appear often. According to Fisk, she doesn't like to appear in public. The feeling this woman gives me is unfathomable. As for Mrs. Gao, she has a drug manufacturing factory in Hell's Kitchen. She has formed an industrial chain with Fisk and others. Based on the evidence previously hidden by Langley, they used United Construction to launder money. However, the acquisition of the property rights of Hell's Kitchen is also true. There is something strange about this matter. I haven't found out the details yet. I will keep an eye on Mrs. Gao next. The problems with Fisk are all normal criminal problems. Coulson listened carefully. He did not expect that Link would basically figure out the entire situation so quickly. Of course, there was still one last link that had not yet been unearthed, which was what the forces cooperating with Fisk were going to do. Most of the funds come from island countries. Are there no people from island countries? Coulson asked. Link said. I haven't come into contact yet, but you should be able to find out by looking at Mrs. Gao. After all, I am only one person. Understood. Keep working hard and try to find out their ultimate goal. Coulson encouraged him. Link was right, he was just one person. But this is also what the director meant. For example, Hawkeye and Black Widow all act alone and have strong operational capabilities and intelligence gathering capabilities. Link directly became a level 6 agent, which was the director's intention. To see if he can be like Hawkeye and Black Widow, as a member of the Avengers in the future, Nick Fury will never forget this. He had proposed a plan before, but it was rejected by the World Security Council, but how could this guy give up? Just like he secretly built safe spots and bases and embezzled funds from S.H.I.E.L.D., in essence, Nick Fury was frightened by the Kree fleet. Coulson turned around and reported Link's discovery to Nick Fury. Nick Fury's remaining eye lit up, and a large amount of money was waving to him again. Very good, Lynn's intelligence gathering ability is good. Nick Fury was very satisfied. By the way, the previous actions were not exposed, right? No, we did it secretly. The funds have been transferred around and entered into the secret account. Coulson said. It will not be noticed by Langley Owsley. Well, don't let other people in the Bureau find out. I will use this money to build a secret base. Nick Fury trusted Coulson the most, but he did not upgrade him too much and kept him there. It's level 7. Maria Hill is a level 9 agent, Nick Fury's adjutant, and the apparent successor to the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson is Nick Fury's candidate to take over the secret base. He is a person who takes one step at a time and sees 3 steps at a time. Link was secretly monitoring Mrs. Gao at this time and found that Mrs. Gao was in her factory most of the time during the day. She used a blind person to deliver the goods, and it was originally picked up by a Russian taxi, but now Vladimir is busy avenging his brother and looking for Daredevil everywhere. The Islander's letter came out and he came to see Madame Gao. Madame Gao was very concerned about Fisk's personal affairs and thought it would affect their so-called career. The appearance of the letter allowed Link to complete the discovery of the islanders, and then reported it to Coulson. Coulson was very satisfied, but Link was alone and difficult to separate. He was considering increasing manpower, but at this time Link discovered that Mrs. Gao had gone to see Alexandra. Link was holding a radio equipment and monitoring from a distance in the car. This is a long-range radio equipment that can be eavesdropped from a long distance. Alexandra was feeding pigeons in a square, while Mrs. Gao sat next to her, a little in awe of her. The conversation between the two made Link happy because the mission was accomplished. The reason why the Hand and the Society fully supports Fisk is very simple, that is, they are looking for the dragon bone. The 5 fingers of the Hand and the Society are all old monsters that have lived for a long time, and the secret of their immortality is the dragon bone. They can even use the dragon bone to attack the dead, perform resurrection. However, the keel in their hands was running out after hundreds of years of consumption, and based on the clues they searched for, they found that there should be a complete keel under Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. So, they need to acquire a large amount of Hell's Kitchen property rights. They bought it not for development, but for digging down. The keel is buried very deep and very huge. They need to dig deep, and need to do it in multiple locations until they find the keel. Alexandra's body can't support it, so they are very anxious. Even if Fisk has a girlfriend, they think it's a waste of time. Link sorted out the recording and sent it to Coulson. After listening to it, Coulson was stunned for a moment and then called Link. "Link, is this true?" Coulson asked. "It should be true, because there is no problem in logic, and the only problem is whether it is really possible to live forever, but this news is best kept secret, and even the Bureau should not spread it." Link reminded, "If too many people know it, then the world will go crazy. The temptation of immortality is too great, especially those politicians and capitalists, they will do anything. If the keel is under Hell's Kitchen and it is very huge, after digging it out, Hell's Kitchen will collapse." After Link finished speaking, he was thinking about something else. If Coulson is really killed by Loki in the future, can he be resurrected through the dragon bone? He was not sure whether he could save Coulson. After all, he was reluctant to expose his strength. He just told Nick Fury about the keel and let him think about it himself. However, he still doesn't care too much whether Hell's Kitchen will collapse. Link is not the Virgin, and it is not his responsibility to care about the lives and deaths of so many people. After listening, Coulson immediately understood the seriousness of the matter. "Very good, don't mention it to anyone. The original recording must be kept and not copied." "Understood, I'm waiting for your news." Link hung up the phone. At this time, he didn't have much to do. Then look for the Purple Man. In the evening, Link came to the rooftop and lay on the lounge chair with Jessica holding wine glasses. Link smoked a cigar and quietly admired the night, while he turned on his super hearing. Collect information with all your strength. Purple Man's information is actually not difficult to collect. After this guy has the ability, he eats, drinks and has fun everywhere. In addition, he will also look for extremely outstanding women and then control them. So, as long as you know a guy who likes to give orders at will, Link is hearing a lot of things at this time, which requires his super brain to analyze. Zirin goes in and out of luxury hotels, restaurants, apartments and other places. He stays there for a day or a few days before leaving. He knows his shortcomings and is invincible when others are not paying attention. However, a sniper can be killed with one bullet. Many things happen in New York every day, and there are many accidents, so the Purple Man has never been noticed by anyone, and Link himself is not sure whether he will be controlled by him. Jessica watched Link close his eyes without disturbing him, lying on the recliner and admiring the night sky. She had been studying and training recently. The progress is still good. She was too repelled by her abilities in the past. It would be better if she trained earlier. Link kept eliminating targets, and soon he locked the location of the Purple Man. This guy was not far from him because there were many luxury apartments near Central Park. This guy knew how to enjoy himself, so it was no surprise that he was very close to him. Link locked his target directly and then opened his eyes. But don't worry, the Purple Man will live in this house tonight, and now Link needs to consider how to kill him. Link was not in a hurry to kill the Purple Man. After all, it was difficult to explain when going out at night. He still lay leisurely on the chair and continued to listen to determine the purple man's voice. The next day, Link sent Jessica to the Charity Geneway to continue her studies, and Link once again confirmed the location of the purple man. As expected, this guy did not move, and he would probably live here for a few days. So, Link went to Hell's Kitchen. He needed to find a sniper rifle. While wandering around Hell's Kitchen, he found a small law firm. Murdoch U0026 Nielsen Law Firm. Link originally proposed to Jessica to establish a charitable foundation because he wanted to sponsor this firm. Matthew Murdoch is a typical Madonna character. Of course, he is an extremely contradictory person. He has always advocated the use of legal trials, but he has turned into a vigilante and become the Night Stalker of Hell's Kitchen. He was also breaking the law himself, but Link wasn't going to care about it. He was just looking for something to do for Jessica, and it was also for tax exemption. Establish a charitable fund, which is then responsible for investment. 5% of its annual profits are used for charity. Legal aid is also a type of charity. The foundation, on the other hand, can be exempted from most taxes, and future heirs do not need to pay inheritance taxes but can work here. Capitalists will use this trick to get away with it. Many people who don't know the truth think it's really charity and have donated all their wealth to this end. However, the funds of the charity fund belong to other people. Link has no business but only funds. He is not suitable to establish a company in a foreign tax-free country, and he himself does not want to be so troublesome. Then charitable funds are the best way. As for Matthew Murdoch, the daredevil, Link doesn't need to care. The future defenders of Hell's Kitchen is probably gone, and its members actually have average abilities. For example, Matthew Murdoch is basically an ordinary person, but he has super hearing and super sense of smell, and his combat abilities are all trained. His strength is not as good as Hawkeye and Black Widow. Especially since this guy has a no-kill principle, he is not within S.H.I.E.L.D.'s recruitment scope. The trajectory of Jessica Jones is similar. Although she has super strength and jumping, she has no fighting skills. She just works miracles with her strength and cannot be compared with Captain America. As for Iron Fist, he holds more than 50% of the shares of a large group and is a super rich man. He has good fighting experience, but his strongest punch is that punch, and then he stops. His fighting ability is average and cannot be compared with Thor and Hulk. Luke Cage is invulnerable, but this is not of much use. His upper limit is not high, he is just a human shield. And these guys don't have very good personalities. Link parked the car at the door, and then walked in. There were only 3 rooms here, and entering was the reception room, where Karen Page had been working since she was rescued. There is an office on the left and right, belonging to Matthew Murdoch and Fergie Nelson respectively. They were college classmates. Matthew Murdoch's father left him a sum of money, and for this money, his father paid his life. Matthew Murdoch used this money to establish this law firm to help the weak. Most of the cases this guy accepted were unpaid. "Hello, sir, do you have a case commission?" Karen Page stood up immediately after seeing Link's clothes. This person should not be short of money, but it was too late to think about why he came here. Now he is short of money. Link smiled and said, "No, I heard that this law firm often provides free legal aid, so I am very interested. I came here to take a look today. Are Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Nelson here?" "They are in court. You can sit down first. They will be back in a little while." Karen Page realized that this person might be here to sponsor. "I'll pour you some water." They don't even have a coffee machine here, so they can only pour Link a glass of water. Link didn't sit down, but looked around here. It seems that the conditions are indeed not very good. Many things are old. Such a place really needs investment. Karen Page was a little embarrassed. After all, the law firm was short of money, very short of money. Her salary had not been paid for 3 months. Matthew's funds are limited and it is difficult to maintain basic operations. The law firm is now in a very difficult situation. "What do you call, sir?" Karen Page asked. "This is my business card." Link took out a name card, but there was only a name and phone number on it, and no other names, which made Peggy very confused. At this time, Matthew and Foggy came back, and they were still discussing the case. After pushing the door open and coming in, they saw Link. The two were stunned for a moment, and then Karen Page immediately introduced the 2 parties. After getting to know each other, he was invited to Matthew's office. All three people came in. After Link sat down, he said, I recently intend to establish a charity fund. Because I used to be a policeman, I want to provide funding for legal aid. Police. Matthew was stunned. Yes, you should have heard of me at the West Central City branch. I killed more than 20 people in one night. Link spread his hands. Fergie Nelson immediately said suddenly, I understand, see. Lynn, right. Yes, to meet you formally, you can call me Lynn. Link said, I am now a professional gambler. Most of my funds came from just 2 poker games, and I won a total of $55 million US. Quote. Oh, my God, Fergie Nelson exclaimed, it's incredible, is there such a big card game? One of them is Mr. Tony Stark, so you know. Link smiled, but these are not the point. Now I hold Stark Industries stock worth $60 million US. There will be dividends every year. Of course, there is also the idea of legal tax avoidance. In addition, the Charitable Foundation is managed by my girlfriend. The main thing is to find something for her to do. It's something that kills 2 birds with 1 stone. I heard about your law firm, so I came here today to talk about funding. Matthew Murdoch heard this and asked, will Mr. Lin intervene in our case? No, but since we are the sponsor, we will supervise and verify the case. Link thought of Jessica's hobby, if you accept our funding, there will be no way to keep the case confidential. Do you agree with this matter? Of course, Fergie said immediately. This is inevitable. Any charitable funding has the right to do so. What do you think, Matthew? Yes, I agree with this aspect. Matthew Murdoch nodded. But now there are 2 options. Link said. The first one is that you only accept our funding, and the funding is only for funding cases. Second, if you accept our acquisition, we will be responsible for all your expenses, including your salary. Of course, as lawyers, you too can own part of the shares. After all, it is difficult to make a fortune with this kind of charitable legal aid, and the salary is at the level of the middle class. However, if you receive a big case and can make money, then you can calculate it separately. This is a problem. Matthew Murdoch hesitates here, while Fergie Nelson is more excited. If they acquire it, then they don't have to worry about money. Funding is different, it's just the money spent on the case, they don't make any money. Matthew. Fergie immediately reminded Matthew in a low voice. Link stood up and said, I know you all need to think about it, so I'll take my leave now. You have my business card and you can call me at any time. You can consider the 2 choices yourself. Okay, Mr. Lin, we will reply as soon as possible. Fergie Nelson said immediately, I will send it to you. After Link got in the car, he immediately heard the conversation inside, but he did not continue to listen and continued to look for the sniper rifle. This was not difficult. He found someone carrying a batch of weapons, so he followed them out of curiosity and monitored them from a distance. There was only one person, and although everything was covered, it couldn't block Link's view. Moreover, this man's body was covered with scars. Link instantly thought of the Punisher. All the weapons he carried were military grade. Civilian weapons are prohibited from having fully automatic weapons, and most of his weapons are fully automatic, even heavy weapons. Link smiled and waited silently in the distance until the transportation was completed and the Punisher left. He placed the things on the rooftop. This was to prepare for the night operation, and the target should be nearby, right? He didn't need to know the Punisher's actions, he just needed a sniper rifle. After the Punisher left, Link went directly to the rooftop, where some weapon boxes were covered with canvas. Link only opened the one containing the sniper rifle and looked inside. It was a Berets 50 sniper rifle, using 12.7 by 99mm caliber bullets. After seeing this kind of bullet, Link laughed, and the purple man was dead. I closed the box directly, wrapped it with canvas, checked that there were no surveillance cameras around, then picked it up and left. Putting it on the back seat of the car, Link started it and left, heading towards where the purple man was. There was a wealthy area nearby. Link carefully walked around a few times, observed the situation, and finally chose an office building. Then he waited for the arrival of the evening. He called Jessica and told her to go back later in the evening. Then Link went to buy some clothes, a hooded sweatshirt, sunglasses, gloves, masks, etc., all cheap goods, street goods that would not have any records. And they were purchased separately, and finally the car was changed and parked far away, where there was no surveillance. America has too little surveillance. Link is very satisfied. They will not invest too much money in public facilities at all. Capitalists are like this. At night, when there were fewer people, Link took the things and came to the narrow space between the two buildings according to the predetermined route, and then slowly floated up with the things. He was not very used to flying. After all, he had never practiced, and he did not have Superman's combat suit and cape, so he could only float up. It was the first time for him to use his flying ability outside, but Link's observation was very careful, so he would not take any pictures, and there was no surveillance here. Coming to the rooftop of the office building selected in advance, Link opened the box, took out the sniper rifle and assembled it, and then debugged it. He did not need to lie down. He directly aimed the gun at the purple man. This guy is now sitting on the sofa in the living room. The luxury apartment he chose has the most floor-to-ceiling windows, which gives him a very wide view. This is also the way to his death. It gives Link a great sniper view. In order to kill this guy, Link did not shoot immediately, but waited. Zirin was watching the TV at this time, holding a glass of wine in his hand and a cigar in his mouth, while the host and hostess of the family, who had no children, were cooking. Otherwise, Link would have taken action yesterday. Although he is not a holy mother, he still has some sympathy for the children. After dinner was ready, Zirin got up and walked towards the dining table nearby. Link was waiting for this opportunity and directly pulled the trigger. Even such a large caliber anti-material sniper rifle did not make his body move at all. Bang! The glass in Ziren's head shattered almost at the same time, but the host and hostess of the house were controlled and did not scream at this. They still stood at the dining table, waiting for the next order. The purple man's body fell to the ground, but Link didn't stop. Bang bang. Continuous sniping aimed at the corpse of the purple man. After all the bullets were empty, Link threw the sniper rifle to the ground, then jumped directly, turned around and left after landing. The remaining problems are not his, and the unusual behavior of the host and hostess of the house should attract some attention. Link changed his clothes, threw the clothes he took off into the trash can, poured some gasoline into it, lit it on fire, and then left. I got back to the car, drove away, and made a long circle before returning home. The anti-equipment gunfire was loud, but Link was standing on the rooftop, and the loud sound was not noticed by others. However, the glass of the luxury apartment shattered, and some of the glass fell below. Someone called the police. When the police opened the door, they were so shocked by what they saw that some young police officers turned around and went out to vomit. The most bizarre thing was that a man and a woman stood still and ignored the arrival of the police. Link returned home and took a shower first to get rid of the smell of gunpowder smoke from his body, but Jessica still smelled it. However, she did not ask, but made 2 sandwiches for Link and heated the milk. After eating, Link told Jessica about the law firm. Jessica became interested and asked a lot of questions. Link answered them one by one, and then the two of them took an early rest. The next day, Link sent Jessica to school. He turned around and suddenly realized that there was nothing to do, but Coulson's phone call came in time. Link, you did a good job this time, you don't need to take care of the rest. Coulson said, the director wants to see you and go to the headquarters tomorrow. There will be a helicopter waiting for you at the branch. Quote, okay, I just happened to go to the headquarters to have a look. Link said. Link spent the day leisurely. As for who would take over, Link didn't care. After all, he was alone, which made him feel less like an agent and more like an intelligence dealer working part-time. In the evening, Jessica and I went out to eat and then watch a movie. In the evening, we tried on the quality of the underwear Jessica bought. The next day, we sent Jessica to study, while he went to the branch. He arrived at the headquarters by helicopter. After getting off the plane, someone took him to Nick Fury's office. Nick Fury was easy to recognize. Agent Lin, welcome to the headquarters. Nick Fury was very polite and stood up to shake hands with him. Mr. Director, I have been curious about the headquarters for a long time. Link said with a smile. I understand this. After all, you don't know enough about us, but you did a good job in this mission. Only one person discovered such important information. Nick Fury has a resurrection plan, but it is from Kremlin. The material is extracted from the human body, and the process of resurrection is extremely cruel. The Kiel incident made him see another possibility, so Nick Fury brought back Hawkeye and Black Widow to cooperate with Coulson to complete the mission secretly. Link is not on this trust list yet, but he must be appeased. But your qualifications are not enough. Because you performed the mission alone, you were promoted to a 6th-level agent. You need to keep up your efforts and continue to collect intelligence among the upper class in New York as a professional gambler, especially the so-called upper-class elites. Some of them may have 084. You don't know what they will do. Quote, yes, I understand, but the circle I come into contact with is limited. Link said, it's usually poker games that are for money, or for technology. We have also done your analysis, but our organization is like this. We cannot wait until something bad happens before we work hard. Many agents are working hard in what they are good at. Nick Fury said, we to prevent problems before they happen. This time I have a task for you. Yes, Director. Link was very cooperative. The military has been conducting experiments, hoping to reproduce the super soldier serum, which is the one used by Captain America. Nick Fury said, there was an accident in a previous experiment, and the laboratory was caused huge damage, but they completely blocked the news. However, we did get some information. They have been looking for a person, and this is his information. Nick Fury handed over a piece of information. After Link opened it, he took a look and knew the details. Dr. Bruce Banner, a super genius with 7 doctorates. This man was once the person in charge of the experiment, but he disappeared after the accident. The military has been looking for him. Nick Fury said, but there was no news. Finally, a team of them went to Brazil and caused quite a stir there. But because it was at night and the infrastructure there was not good, we didn't get any valuable intelligence. However, our people found the trace of Dr. Bruce Banner. He has returned secretly in New York. I hope you can get close to him and find out the specific situation. After all, the scene of the experimental accident was too destructive, but it was not caused by the explosion. I understand. I will start the action immediately after I go back. Link is not afraid of Hulk, but he doesn't want to expose his ability because of Hulk. The best way is to contact the other party in advance. Very good, go visit the headquarters. Nick Fury was very satisfied. Link turned and left with the information. Someone was waiting for him outside, a woman, very tall. Hello, I'm Maria Hill, the director's adjutant. The other party introduced me. I don't think I need to be introduced. Hello, Agent Hill. Link shook hands with the other party, who took him on a tour and introduced some of the various departments, but the confidential parts were not involved in this tour. Link had lunch here at noon, then took a helicopter back to the New York branch in the afternoon and drove home in his own car. Chapter 31. Bruce Banner was cautious. He returned to New York with his things. He was not allowed to stay in any hotel that required identification information, and he didn't have that much money now. He thought of a place, which was the pizza shop he used to go to with his girlfriend. He was very familiar with the owner. Carrying a travel bag, he took a taxi to the location and prepared to enter through the back door. But a car stopped next to him, the driver's window rolled down, and a young Chinese man showed his face. Smiled at him and said, "Good evening, Dr. Bruce Banner." Quote. Bruce was in a panic at this time, and he turned around and wanted to escape. But Link's words made him stop. The military already knows you're back. Quote. Bruce turned to look at Link and asked, "Who are you?" "Get in the car. This is not the place to talk." "Don't worry, I won't anger you, because it's too dangerous." Link said, "I also know that many things are not effective for you, so I just want to talk." After hesitating for a moment, Bruce knew that he didn't have much choice unless he released the Hulk, but that was the last thing he wanted to do. So, he got in the car, got in from the passenger seat, Link started the car, and the car drove away slowly. Bruce Banner and his girlfriend in the pizza shop were perfectly separated, and Link did this intentionally. This kind of affection between children is the most undesirable. Let me introduce myself. My name is Link. You can call me Lin. I belong to the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau. Link imitated Phil Coulson and the others and said his full name directly. Quote. Bruce Banner was confused. What is this for? Homeland does not refer to the United States, but the entire Earth. We are the first line of defense of the Earth. Link said. This is a global institution, managed by the World Security Council, with funds coming from all countries around the world. This is a joint organization mechanism. How is it possible? Bruce Banner didn't believe it. If there is such an institution, why is there a war? You don't understand everything. What we are defending is not war on the Earth, but alien civilization. In view of your specialness, that's why I said that the alien civilization that people have been wondering about does exist. Lin K said. Quote. Bruce Banner didn't expect that he would hear such an exciting thing today, but he still believes it too much now. Link didn't explain too much, but drove directly to an open location, invited the other party to get out of the car, and then took out some food and drink from the trunk. I believe you haven't eaten yet, we can talk while eating. This is the pizza purchased, a total of 2 large boxes of pizza, and 2 cups of Coke. Link asked. Do you want me to taste it first? No need. Bruce Banner took a box directly, placed it on the chassis cover of the front of the car, opened it and ate it. Link also opened another box, eating pizza and said, we roughly understand something. The military announced that it was an experimental accident, but the damage at the scene was not caused by the explosion. And then they hunted you down. We also guessed some things. The experiment must have been successful, but it wasn't that successful, right? Yes, I became a monster with huge destructive power, and it is out of control. Bruce Banner said. Do you want it now? As far as I know, we have no experimental project on the super soldier serum. Link said. To put it bluntly, the enemy we know is not something that one Captain America or a group of Captain America can solve. There are already a lot of alien items that we have sealed and studied. Bruce looked at Link in surprise and asked, is it really okay for you to tell me this? Does it sound like a lie? Link laughed and said, I thought so too at first. I was a policeman before, and then I made a lot of money in Las Vegas. At this time I'm faced with a choice. As a result, someone came to recruit me. I was very interested and curious about it, so I joined. As a result, I saw the truth that I never knew. The Earth is like a supermarket. Too many aliens have come here. Maybe there are still aliens hiding here. Can you believe it? Bruce swallowed the pizza in his mouth with difficulty and said, it's unbelievable. Yes, it's unbelievable. Link nodded and said, then, Bruce, it was a wrong decision for you to come back, and it was an even worse choice for you to give your blood to others. Quote. Bruce was stunned. You all know. Of course, the network is not safe. SHIELD doesn't know this, but Link knows it. Anyway, he was performing the mission alone and didn't worry about being discovered. Facing Bruce Banner, his psychology was the most useful. And your Mr. Lan cloned your blood and conducted many experiments. Impossible, how could he? Bruce was stunned, he didn't expect this, he promised. A crazy biologist, you are also doing scientific research, how do you know he won't do this? Link mocked slightly. He can get the Nobel Prize for this, why doesn't he do it? Quote. Bruce was silent for a moment, and then said, no, he must destroy the blood. Don't worry, someone will do it. Link reassured him, and then said, now let's talk about your problem. Me. Bruce was stunned. From what you said, I came to a conclusion, that is, what is his name in your body? Link guided Bruce. Hulk. He named himself Hulk. Bruce said, yes, Hulk. Link nodded slightly, although I don't know your field of expertise, I know that the experiment will not stuff a person or anything into your body, so his birth will be yours. Question. Me. Bruce was stunned, how is that possible? Of course it's possible. I studied psychology in college. I believe you've heard of split personality, right? Link continued. I know all about your experience. We have investigated your past. Your childhood was unhappy, which resulted in your cowardly personality. So when you were a child, did you imagine that you would become strong and be able to protect yourself? Split personality is related to personal experience. Your experience is a typical example. It's just that you are very smart, have always excelled in your studies, and have 7 PhDs. This learning experience, your university degree, and your girlfriend will make you temporarily forget your cowardice, but when there is a huge crisis in the experiment, or even fatal danger, Link said. All the conditions came together and a huge change occurred within you, and the Hulk was born. After all, the experiment is done by you. You can't put anything into your body. So according to science, it can only be another personality of yours. His performance is related to your childhood. Think about it for yourself. Are the characteristics displayed by Hulk related to some of your childhood emotions? Quote. Bruce fell into memories. His father was also a researcher in the military, but his temper later became very violent. Until he died, he was always very scared. Then I hid under the table alone, but inside. He couldn't imagine it and said tremblingly, "Am I the Hulk?" "Can you tell me what your other personality is feeling?" Link asked. "Angry." Bruce put down the pizza and covered his face with his hands. "It's all about me." "You should be happy, Bruce," Link advised from the side. "In this way, the problem can be solved easily. Don't regard him as a monster, but as your brother, or yourself. Face to face with him, it's a psychological treatment. Don't exclude him, communicate with him. By the way, when he appears, do you know what's going on in the outside world?" "I don't know." Bruce shook his head. "I don't know. Every time he appears, I always fall into darkness. That's the problem. If you don't like him, then he won't like you. You need to communicate and you need to trust each other. Then after everything is established, if you merge into one, then you will have strength and wisdom." Link said. "Why do you want that?" Bruce suddenly looked up at Link, which was so strange. "The Earth needs you, maybe in the near future." Link took a sip of Coke, and then said, "We can provide you with a safe house in an open place, and then you have to learn to face the Hulk and proceed with peace of mind." Dialogue. "People send you supplies regularly, what do you think? Don't think that he will disappear. You must know that the conditions for his birth are very harsh, just like the super soldier serum. It has been decades now, but the military has not succeeded." "Why? All conditions are specific. Even Dr. Olkins chose Steve Rogers, who was the weakest at the time." "And why?" Bruce fell silent. "Since that experiment, he has been evading, complaining, and even wanted to kill himself. As a result, everything got worse and worse." Now that the other party explained everything from a psychological perspective, Bruce somewhat agreed. "It's strange that you trusted me with such a simple conversation without even showing any ID." Link looked relaxed, and Bruce felt strange. Did the other party not understand how terrifying the Hulk was? "Really?" Bruce asked. "Yes, we will deploy an isolation zone around the safe house. No one or force can contact you until you complete the psychological treatment." Link said. "As you know, it is difficult to succeed in terms of technology. The most it can do is let Hulk sleep. But the military will not give up. They will capture people and pull them for experiments. General Ross, as your girlfriend's father, you should know him better than we do. That's an ambitious guy." "Okay, but you have to clear my blood." Bruce agreed. This was an opportunity, but he didn't know the specific effect. "By the way, I hope you can help me. Don't worry, I will go over regularly to conduct psychological evaluations on you, but this matter actually still depends on you. Only you can solve the problem between you. Let him see the outside, and you should also see the outside. Trust is the foundation." "I hope so," Bruce said. Link took out his phone and dialed Nick Fury's number in front of the other party. "Director, I have met with Dr. Bruce Banner and conducted psychological diagnosis and analysis." Nick Fury was stunned. He didn't understand. Link met directly, but now it seems that the situation is good. "What's the specific situation?" Nick Fury asked. "The military did develop a super soldier serum, but something went wrong in the experiment. The doctor himself mutated and became a powerful being, so powerful that the military couldn't do anything to him," Link said. "Now he cannot control this situation for the time being. My analysis is that he has given birth to a second personality. Now there is a lack of communication between the main personality and the second personality. When the second personality appears, the main personality will fall into a deep sleep. This is related to the doctor's childhood. My idea was to find an inaccessible place, such as the Canadian jungle, and we would create an isolation zone from a distance. Let Dr. Banner communicate with the second personality himself. If this step is completed, then Dr. Banner's power can be controlled by himself. Nick Fury's eyes lit up, but he knew nothing about Banner's power, but based on Link's description, he also understood that there was nothing the military could do. This is Banner's power, far exceeding Captain America. This comparison is actually very intuitive. As a link of communication between Link and Nick Fury, his rhetoric is very important. Your idea is very good, I can arrange it, Nick Fury said. Director, the fewer people who know about this matter, the better. However, we need to make some arrangements for the people who contacted Dr. Banner before. He copied a lot of Banner's blood, which is very dangerous. Link said. Someone drank a drop before, and it made an old man become extremely powerful. This is too dangerous. I think you should go out in person and destroy all the copied blood. Nick Fury's pupils shrank. It turned out that there was such a thing. He immediately said, "Give me the address, I will deal with it myself. In addition, I need you to send Dr. Banner over in person. I asked Coulson to prepare it. I don't want any problems in the middle." Understood, I will escort him personally, Link said and hung up the phone. Then he sent a text message using his mobile phone. It contained Mr. Land's address and real name, which he remembered. After all, he had a super brain and his memory of his previous life was very clear. If Nick Fury hadn't given Link the task, Link wouldn't have guided Bruce Banner in this way, but he was sent here. In order to avoid accidents, he must firmly grasp the initiative, otherwise if Hulk comes out, he must really fight. Eat quickly, we'll leave when we get the news. Link began to eat pizza in big mouthfuls. Bruce did the same. Soon Coulson sent a message with this address. Link and Bruce also finished eating. The two got in the car, and then Link drove directly to the address. Hey, Coulson, this is a simple airport, a private place, with a private plane parked on the runway. Lin, your work is very good. The director has taken people to act. I believe that the blood will be destroyed soon. Coulson then turned around and stretched out his hand to Bruce. Hello, Doctor, I have learned about your information. You are a genius. I am nothing now. Bruce is not in a good mood now. Don't worry, Lin is very good at psychology. He has never lost in various card games. He is good at analyzing the psychology of various people. Coulson is very confident in Link. Let's get on the plane. Leaving the country in a private name can conceal your whereabouts. The cabin in the jungle is ready. We are also preparing to arrange people to lurk nearby to prevent anyone from looking for you. You are alone within a radius of 50 miles. Coulson said as he walked. We have prepared a hunting rifle for you to prevent bears. We have prepared 3 months of food and water for you, but there is no phone or network. I hope you can understand. If you need anything, you can tell me. Book bar, give me some books. Bruce said. Yes, there are many world-famous books there. Of course, if you don't like them, we can prepare more. Coulson said. In addition, there are enough clothes. We can take a look at them when we get there. The three got on the plane, and then the plane took off and flew to Canada. Before Link got on the plane, he informed Jessica that he would be away for a few days and asked her not to worry. He said it was a card game, but not in New York. After getting off the plane, they took a car and drove all the way to the forest. Link didn't know where this place was, but it was far enough away that there were few people. After sitting in the car for several hours, they finally arrived at a wooden house. The wooden house was neither big nor small, but it was obviously empty, but it had been tidied up. After the three entered, they found a fireplace. Coulson walked over, took some wood next to him, and then lit it in the fireplace. The climate in Canada is generally very cold. Link and Bruce took a look around. Many things here were new. Coulson said, the people who arranged this place didn't know the doctor's situation. They just thought it was a protection plan. Usually, the supplies will be transported 2 miles away from here. We will leave a car and enough fuel for you. But you have to do everything, such as chopping wood. In addition, there is no electricity, running water and other infrastructure here. There are sewage facilities, which are septic tanks buried underground. The place to get water is in the hut next to it. There is a well there. If it freezes, remember to pour hot water on it. Link said, now that we are still here, let's help. At least give Bruce some time to adapt. Good suggestion. Coulson agreed. The three of them quickly started to act. The three of them divided the work. Coulson and Bruce went to chop wood, while Link went to fetch water and fill the water tank in the wooden house. Then the facilities in the house could be used. But usually, check the water tank more often to prevent small animals from entering and affecting the quality of the water. The three of them worked hard until noon, when they started cooking again. After eating, Link and Coulson said goodbye. Bruce stayed here. At first, he was a little nervous, but he got used to it after a few days. There was really no one here. He read a book by the fireplace at night and went to sleep. In the morning, he went out to exercise. He then tried to communicate with Hulk. At first, Hulk ignored him, but Bruce had nothing to do here, and he was very at ease. He didn't need to worry about the military coming to his door. His mentality was very stable at this time, so he continued to try. After half a month, he communicated with Hulk. It was a wonderful feeling. Only then did he realize that Hulk was very similar to him when he was a child, but he was the angry self inside. Link did not go home directly, but went to Las Vegas and won a small amount of $1.5 million before returning home. After all, he told Jessica that he went to participate in a card game in another place. If he didn't get the money back, then Jessica would be worried. In the following time, Link actually had no mission, or he continued to carry out the previous mission of inquiring for intelligence, wandering around in some card games, making friends with upper-class people in New York, and expanding his network of relationships. This kind of thing is hard to say. The intelligence is equivalent to waiting for the rabbit, and there has been no movement in Hell's Kitchen. Have Coulson and his team taken action? Why is Kingpin still alive and kicking in love? Why is he still fighting back and forth with Daredevil? The Punisher has not taken any action for the time being, probably because I took his sniper rifle before, and he was scared and retreated. Regarding the Purple Man gun case, the New York police are conducting a rigorous investigation. They must have found the sniper rifle, but no other clues were found at the scene. They can only find out the source of the sniper rifle. The Punisher probably knows. Link paid attention for a moment and then ignored him. It was not easy or impossible to find him. That day, Link received a call from Karen Page, inviting him to meet. Link sent Jessica to continue studying in the morning, and then took the lead to the Murdoch U0026 Nelson law firm. After entering, Matthew Murdoch, Fergie Nelson, and Karen Page were all there. Mr. Lin, welcome again. Fergie was very enthusiastic, while Matthew's attitude was relatively calm. You're welcome. I wonder what you are thinking about. Link asked. We have thought it over carefully. I agree to the acquisition. I don't know the specific content of the acquisition. Fergie Nelson asked with a smile. We can talk about this, but your law firm is indeed worthless, but I can make a capital injection. Link said. You too can get some shares, but it will definitely not be much. Your income is mainly salary. Of course, Fergie Nelson said immediately, but we hope to stay here in West Central City. After all, the most people in need of help are here. That's for sure, but I will buy a property and then renovate it. Link said. After all, it's impossible for there to be only two of you lawyers and a receptionist. The law firm will then be incorporated into the name of a charity fund. It will be run as a normal law firm, but a charity fund will be added every year to provide legal aid to the poor. Various procedures will take some time, so for the time being I will purchase it in my private name, and when the charity fund is established, it will be incorporated into it. Matthew Murdoch asked, can it be stated in the contract? Of course, that's for sure. Link nodded. You are responsible for drafting a contract, and I will give each of you 5% of the shares. The salary issue will be signed after the contract is signed. I will give you $300,000 for the acquisition price, and inject $1 million to not dilute your shares. After the charity fund is established, the legal affairs of the foundation will be handed over to the law firm. Even if the law firm does not make money, I believe that the salary and commissioned business will not be reduced. Quote, Fergie Nelson was very happy. With a charity foundation behind them, they have the capital to settle down and no longer have to worry about money. Drafting a contract also takes time. Link temporarily said goodbye and left. He will bring his girlfriend over in a few days so that both parties can get to know each other. In order to establish the foundation, Link went to Langley again and asked his accounting firm to cooperate with his lawyer. For the time being, Link still used the previous lawyer. When he returned home in the evening, he told Jessica about the matter. Jessica was very excited. This is a career, not staying at home all day and being a housewife. She is learning very fast now. She is a very smart woman. She learned from the charity foundation introduced by Tracy and understood its operation. This aspect is not complicated. Link did not have much funds and the annual income was limited. Taking out 5% for charity was not a big amount of money. She did not know at this time that Link had plans for Stark Industrial stocks in the future. The scale of funds would definitely increase, but it seemed that the scale of funds was not large now. It was just a small law firm, so it was not troublesome. She was fully capable of operating it now. She talked with Link enthusiastically, especially about the review of the funding cases. The limited funds must be used for those who need it most. Hello, I saw the news about recruitment in the newspaper. Link had signed the acquisition contract and the first acquisition fund had been paid, $300,000. After all, the law firm had no fixed assets and no entrustment contract, and the office facilities here were worthless. For the subsequent injection of $1 million, Link also needed to look at the real estate in Hell's Kitchen and prepare to acquire a small apartment and then renovate it. The housing prices in America are very peculiar. They are calculated according to the community. Under the overall environment of Hell's Kitchen, the real estate here is extremely cheap. The property tax is also very low, because there are only poor people here, and the housing prices in the entire area cannot go up. People here do not agree to increase the housing prices, because the increase in housing prices means the increase in property taxes. Wilson Fisk's acquisition is difficult because the acquisition price is not enough for people here to move to another place to live, and if they move to another place, the property tax may increase. This property tax must be paid every year, and the price difference ranges from several $1,000s to $10,000 a year, which is a huge burden. If Link wants to acquire, he will also encounter this problem, but the location he chooses is on the edge of Hell's Kitchen. He must consider the problem of future employees. Fergie Nelson grew up here, and Matthew Murdoch wants to be a hero here, so the two of them dare to come. But what about others? Therefore, the edge location is the best, not leaving Hell's Kitchen, and it is relatively safe. Otherwise, if an employee works overtime at night, he can't find a taxi to go home, which is troublesome. It's not that there are no buildings here, but the rent is relatively expensive. It's better to buy a small apartment and renovate it. You should know that this place was originally a gathering place for Irish workers, so the Irish gang was the most powerful in the early days. The earliest document that can be traced back is in the New York Times in 1881, but a reporter came in under the escort of the police to interview a homicide case. The name of Hell's Kitchen is too derogatory, and finally the official determined that this place is Clinton District, which is West Midtown. This place is close to Broadway. Many people who pursue art come to New York. Because they don't have a fixed income, many people also rent houses here because the real estate here is cheap enough. Wilson Fisk wants to rebuild here, and the resistance can be imagined. People here don't have the ability to pursue a better living environment. Once this place is completely acquired and rebuilt, the price difference is very huge, and the benefits are tempting. Yes, then when can we meet? Link asked. Anytime, the other party said. Then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Link reported a coffee shop near his home, and the two agreed to meet. Soon, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Link arrived a few minutes early, found a seat, ordered a cup of coffee, and then took out a cigarette to smoke. At 2 o'clock, a black man pushed the door open and walked in. He looked around and walked straight to Link's position. Is that Mr. Lin? Yes, it's me, Mr. McCall. After Link stood up and shook hands with the other party, both parties sat down. What would you like to drink? No, we can start the interview directly. The other party did not order anything. So how is Mr. McCall's driving experience? Link asked. The Rolls-Royce Phantom I ordered will arrive in another month. It should be no problem. I have been driving for many years and am familiar with all kinds of vehicles. In addition, I was a soldier when I was young. I have certain fighting skills and can also use firearms. The other party spoke very calmly. Link nodded slightly and asked again, Do you have a criminal record? No. McCall shook his head. Very good. Give me your ID, I will investigate. In addition, we will set off now. You drive my car first and we will go around. Link stood up and took out the money to press under the coffee cup. The two walked out and got into Link's car. Link's Mustang was very powerful, but the other party started it very smoothly, and he knew the performance of the vehicle very well. He was an old hand at first glance. He was driving on the streets of New York, and he understood all the signals and signs and obeyed the traffic rules completely. Half an hour later, Link asked him to stop near a subway station. Give me your driver's license and I will record it. If there are no problems, then I will hire you. Your driving skills are very good. Thank you. The other party took out his driver's license and handed it to Link. After Link recorded it, the two parties separated. Link checked the time and then went to pick up Jessica. Jessica studied in the morning and worked out in the afternoon. Link did not object. His girlfriend was getting better and better, so he was naturally happy. After picking her up, he went to have dinner before returning home. While Jessica was taking a shower, he logged into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s network to investigate Robert McCall, and found that his resume was false. He was a former CIA operative. The CIA recorded that this person was dead, but there are many cases of this kind of suspended animation, and Link also remembered, is this the McCall in The Vengeance? He faked his own death after his wife died of illness. Why did he come to apply for a driver job? Did his wife just die? When you were looking for a job and saw your own recruitment? Link was quite satisfied. This man's abilities were outstanding, he was fully qualified as a driver and bodyguard, and his character was not a problem either. The reason why he remembered it was based on the investigation information. McCall probably didn't know that he could investigate his details. He had forged his information himself, but after all, he was a professional, so the forgery was very difficult. Be detailed. It was probably one of his former cover identities. Very few people knew about this, and only he himself knew it. The FBI is okay, but the CIA has a lot of troubles. It is absolutely wise to leave yourself a way out in advance. Link was very satisfied, and then equipped him with a body armor and a pistol. Then basically no one could threaten Jessica, and Jessica herself was not easy to mess with. He picked up the phone, dialed McCall's number, and said, "Mr. McCall, you have been admitted. Please come tomorrow." He gave the address of a law firm, which was first hired in a private name and then transferred to a charitable fund. These personnel expenses need to be recorded in the accounts of the charitable fund. Thank you very much. I will arrive on time tomorrow. McCall didn't have too many mood swings. He just wants a quiet life now. Being a full-time driver is not bad. He has a reading plan, reading 100 books. Plan, which was left behind by her wife during her lifetime. As a full-time driver, as long as you take good care of your car and your employer, you can spend your usual time reading. No matter how you look at it, this job is good. Coulson was busy at this time. The director transferred Hawkeye and Black Widow to him, but did not let him use Link. The main reason is to separate Link from the case, because Link's current identity is very useful and his abilities are excellent. The director specifically explained to him that Link should not be involved in this matter. In addition, Wilson Fisk did not move. On the one hand, he was protecting Link's identity, and on the other hand, he was covering this operation, which was specifically aimed at the Hand and the Association. The secret of the dragon bone must be kept. This matter is too big. If it is exposed, it will definitely be coveted, and it will be a disaster. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. does not keep any internal records, and only uses Nick Fury's secret personnel and equipment, so the movement must be small. Now Coulson is leading people to slowly investigate all the information about the Hand and the Union, striving to kill with one blow and uproot all the forces. The only clue they have is a recording of Link. However, Link could not continue to investigate this matter in depth. They took over and conducted a secret investigation. Black Widow was a master in this aspect, and Hawkeye was in charge of the operation. So, the situation is calm now, but Daredevil is still on the move, but S.H.I.E.L.D. is not paying attention. Daredevil's true identity is a blind lawyer. The blind man can move freely. Coulson paid attention and found that his fighting ability can only be said to be okay. And this guy pursues a no-kill strategy, even in the face of deadly force, so it's impossible for S.H.I.E.L.D. to recruit him. Recently, he discovered that Link had contact with him, but it was about the charitable foundation Link was planning to establish, which provided legal aid. There was no problem in this aspect, and Coulson stopped paying attention. At the critical moment, Link can hold the lawyer back and prevent him from causing trouble, which is also good. Link signed a contract with McCall, but he doesn't have to go to work yet, but there are some things that can be prepared in advance. The first is that McCall needs to find a place to live. Some subsidies can be given in this regard, but it is not all the responsibility of Link. It should be closer to Link's apartment and let McCall find a new place to live. Secondly, in terms of clothing, suits, ties, leather shoes, etc., after all, you are driving a Rolls-Royce, and as a driver, you must also pay attention to your image. Of course, you don't need to wear a hat and white gloves, just a normal mid-range suit, and this part can be reimbursed. Finally, there is the issue of applying for a concealed carry permit and equipping yourself with body armor. This is not urgent and needs to wait until the charity fund is established. Link has also been paying attention to the progress of the application recently. This is not difficult. According to the normal procedures, there are lawyers and accounting firms to provide information. Link owns Stark Industries stocks worth $60 million. This amount of money is not small. 5% of the annual dividend depends on Stark Industries' quarterly profit report. This is public information that can be found. As a listed company, the profit report cannot be hidden. The scale is not large, so the process was completed quickly. Then Link rented an office in an office building near Hell's Kitchen. This place is not big. There is no need to rent a floor as big as the next one. On the one hand, there is no need, and on the other hand, there is not so much money. It is only a quarter of the first floor, rented together with other companies. Link did not choose a high floor. The location is on the third floor of the office building. Bring Jessica here, and there are also people from the decoration company to replan this place. One is the office of the foundation manager, that is, Jessica, and there is an outer room, which is the office of her secretary. There must be meeting rooms, financial affairs, legal affairs, personnel, front desk, employee cubicles, etc. Although small, it has everything. There won't be many people, after all, it is just a small foundation. Of course, if it expands in the future, then it will naturally find a new location. Everything was slowly getting on track. A month later, the ordered vehicle arrived and parked in the apartment's underground parking lot, with only 2 of the 4 parking spaces occupied. McCall was called in to get familiar with the car first, and then he was ready to start work. Link asked Fergie Nelson to apply for a gun license for McCall. The Jessica Charity Foundation officially started running, and the first thing was to discuss the acquisition issue. Link took a fancy to an apartment, which was a small 5-story apartment with an area of only about 0.3 acres of land. The entire apartment belongs to an individual, so just talk to the owner directly. This place was rented before, but after Wilson Fisk began to acquire properties in Hell's Kitchen, the owner had already started preparing, but Fisk encountered problems. First, the accounts of the United Construction Company were discovered by Karen Page, and then Daredevil's disruption caused trouble for their business. Finally, the hand and the meeting asked Fisk to first acquire large buildings. Such buildings occupy a large area, which is convenient for them to dig down. Therefore, no one came to negotiate for this small apartment on the edge. After Link saw it, he asked Jessica to take people to negotiate himself, which was considered as a training for her. When Jessica encountered something she liked, she did not go directly to the door, but investigated the owner and the apartment completely, and then went to the door with the information. As a driver, McCall naturally understood it more clearly. He found that the boss lady had a talent for investigating cases. She actually investigated the other party thoroughly and had the upper hand during the negotiation. Soon, the negotiation ended and it was completely acquired at a price of $800,000. This is the price of Hell's Kitchen. It is not as valuable as Link's previous townhouse. After all, it is too small, covering only 0.3 acres, with an area of more than 1,200 square meters. Moreover, the time of this building is old enough. It was built in 1920. Then he called a number of people from the design company to take a look. The answer they gave was that it was best to rebuild it. There was no value in reconstruction. This place is almost a dangerous building. Otherwise, it would not be so cheap. This $800,000 is the price of the land. Jessica needs to discuss with Link as soon as possible. Honey, the apartment has been acquired, but the people in the design company think that it is unnecessary to renovate it. It is better to rebuild it. The cost is too much. Jessica frowned and said. Link knew that it was a matter of money. He invested $1 million as the initial capital, and there were still $200,000 left after the acquisition. Among them, he had to pay salaries and maintain the normal operation of the law firm. No problem, I will invest another $1 million. There are only a few $100,000 left in Link's account now, which is their usual expenses, and the majority is stocks. It is not cost-effective for Link to sell stocks now, and it is contrary to the operating rules of the charity fund. Jessica has funds in her account, but it is less than $1 million. Recently, hiring a coach and buying new season clothes are not small. She is also a little embarrassed. After Link finished speaking, he thought for a moment and said, "You discuss the plan with the design company first, and then we will go to Las Vegas." "Is that okay?" Jessica frowned. "Will you make them unhappy?" "No, it's a small amount, and I won the customers' money, not their casinos, so don't worry." Link didn't care, and if he was lucky, he would encounter another big game, then there would be no problem. Okay, Jessica nodded. Soon, she signed a contract with the design company, paid a deposit of $100,000, and talked to Murdoch and Nelson about another investment, and this time they would not dilute their shares. However, this is the last payment, and it will rely on the profits of the charity fund to operate, and the building will not be too high. This time it is planned to build 4 floors. The frame design of 1 underground floor and 3 above-ground floors, with large-scale use of floor-to-ceiling windows, makes the building structure very simple. The underground floor is a parking lot. Although it is on the edge of Hell's Kitchen, you still have to pay attention to safety. It is too easy to get into trouble if the car is parked outside, so just build an underground parking lot. The ground floor is the reception area, where the front desk is placed. It is divided into 2 parts. The left side is used for normal legal commissions, and the right side is the reception area for legal aid. The left side is a partition to ensure the privacy of customers, while the right side is an open area. The second floor is the office area for lawyers and assistants, and there is also a reception room for big customers, while the third floor is used by the foundation, which is responsible for the review of legal aid and other issues, including conference rooms. That's enough. It's March now, the temperature is good, and we can directly start demolition and then construction. It will be completed in about 4 months. Hey, Coulson, haven't you taken action recently? Link called Coulson. You don't need to ask about this case. It's mainly to separate you out and prevent Fisk from suspecting you. Coulson said. This time we are only targeting the hands in the meeting, especially the Keel problem, which must be kept strictly confidential. You have to remember this. Don't worry, I know the seriousness of this. Since I'm not needed, I'll take Jessica out on vacation. I just lack funds, so I'll go to Las Vegas this time. Link said. Okay, that's fine, so you'll be less suspicious. Coulson then laughed. You're just like going to withdraw money. No way, who made me so powerful? Link said, but this time I have to change to another one. I can't always go to the same one, otherwise people will really be rude to me and it will be troublesome. Just let me know if there is any problem. Coulson gave Link a little assurance. Okay, Link then hung up the phone. Then he took Jessica with him. Tracy was very envious. She recently found a boyfriend, but the situation was not good. Arrived in Las Vegas, Link had investigated the casino hotel here and changed to stay. Most of the time during the day was at the swimming pool. Link experienced the fun of applying sunscreen to people, and then at night he took Jessica to the casino first, and then watched various programs. It was completely like a vacation. Making money was secondary, and Jessica also saw Link playing cards for the first time. He was really killing everyone, and he made $1 million in a few days. However, she also keenly discovered that the people in the casino had been targeting them on the 3rd day, but withdrew in the next 2 days. Link knew that the casino people noticed them, but then withdrew them. Even if he didn't use X site, he could still kill everyone with psychology. People who play in casinos have psychological flaws, and it is easy to find their psychological activities. Link is now quite famous, especially in Las Vegas. They know more about professional gamblers. For example, Link is quite famous in New York, so they are naturally concerned. And Link has won a big game and has tens of millions of cash assets. The casino does not know that Link has bought Stark Industries stocks. At present, Link is also a high-quality resource for the casino. This casino hotel is also preparing for a big game at this time. The participants are either rich or noble. This is what they often do to meet the needs of guests. Of course, the needs of these guests are different. Some seek excitement, some pursue victory or defeat, some hope to win money, and some fight to win. It is said that money can buy everything here. The casino hotel needs to satisfy the guests. Just the consumption and commission of these guests make them rich. Professional gamblers like Link have their own circles, but most of them will participate in Gambling King competitions. Once they win the championship, they will not only have lucrative benefits, but will also be valued by the casino. Or be hired as a technical director, or directly get some scattered shares. The benefits are huge, but Link is unwilling to participate because these benefits are dispensable to him. He is also unwilling to be tied to the casino because his hidden identity is an agent. He likes the identity of an agent more. He will become stronger by basking in the sun. There is no system and no need to seek a way to become stronger. His life should be more colorful. He is very satisfied now. Interesting, colorful, and now he has a girlfriend. He has everything he lacked in his previous life. What else does he want? Mr. Lin, I wonder if you are willing to attend a card game. The casino people showed up a few days later, and at this time Link's winnings have exceeded $5 million. He won a little too much this time, and he found that he had too little cash left, which would affect Jessica's purchase of luxury goods, especially the underwear he liked her to buy the most. Of course, but who will be there? Link asked with a smile. It's inconvenient to introduce their identities, just do your best, said the casino manager. Link raised his eyebrows, then nodded and said, no problem, change all the chips I deposited. By the way, what's the time? I'll have someone come to invite you at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. After the hotel manager finished speaking, he turned and left. In front of them, Link still looked very weak, but Link didn't care. These guys thought he was easy to control, which was the best. In this way, there might be more big games looking for him in the future. Of course, if someone doesn't follow the rules, that's also a good thing. He doesn't mind using the resources of S.H.I.E.L.D. After all, he is a level 6 agent. Jessica, standing aside, wearing an evening gown, approached Link and asked, I don't feel well. Don't worry, someone is sending us money. Although the other party's identity is unwilling to be introduced, it doesn't matter. Link smiled, at least they dare not move here in the hotel. Jessica frowned, but didn't say much. She knew from the beginning that her boyfriend was a professional gambler, and it would be difficult to have a stable career. The next night, after the two finished dinner, they returned to the room and changed their clothes. Link was wearing a custom-made handmade suit, and Jessica changed into an evening gown. Then the hotel staff arrived and invited them to the VIP box. This time, Link didn't have to wait. There were already 4 people waiting here. Obviously, they knew each other and must have something to talk about. On the semicircular table, Link took a cigar and a bottle of bourbon, and then sat on the far right with Jessica. He observed carefully that there was 1 woman and 3 men present, including 2 old men, 1 black and 1 white, and 2 young men, 1 man and 1 woman, both white. Antonio, it's not too late to regret now, the black old man said with a smile. The white old man said with a serious expression, Sloan, my children and I are 3 people, and there is also a master hired by the casino. You may not win. Okay, let's see our luck. Sloan turned to look at the dealer. Let's start. Link looked at the chips on his table at this time. It was 10 million chips. The casino didn't say it before, and his chips were not enough. The casino supplemented him with more than 4 million. Don't think they are kind, but they know that they have the ability to repay. Link smiled slightly and smoked a cigar without saying a word. Jessica was very nervous and sat on Link's right, but she didn't dare to speak for fear of hindering Link. Link noticed it, patted her hand, and said, "Relax a little, if you are tired, you can go to the side to rest and drink something. It doesn't matter, this is the first time I see you play cards." Jessica squeezed a smile. "It seems that I need to take you out more often in the future so that you can adapt." Link laughed. He was alone here, and the dealer had already started dealing cards. The 5 people each put in $10,000 as a base. At the beginning of the game, Link found that the old man named Antonio and Sloane were the calmest. Antonio's children were also a little nervous. It seemed that they were using the gambling game to do something. In the first few games, Link almost didn't follow, just to lose a base, and his focus was to observe Sloane, who was the calmest one. Even Sloane's heartbeat didn't change much. Of course, when he looked at the cards, it was slightly higher. Now Link can not only use X-ray vision, but also super hearing to hear everyone's heartbeat. Jessica's heartbeat was the loudest. "Hey, aren't you a master?" The young man looked at Link after a few games. Link smiled and said, "It seems that the casino didn't introduce me. My card skills are average, but I am good at psychology. I am observing, but now it's almost the same." "Deal the cards," he said to the dealer. Old Antonio turned to his son and said, "Santino, keep calm." "Good father." Santino Antonio immediately looked well behaved. The woman next to him, who should be his sister judging by her age, had a slightly upturned mouth, looking happy. Link understood that the brother and sister were not harmonious enough, and he could take advantage of it. Link then began to kill everyone, even Sloane was no match for him, and Link's chips gradually increased. The 4 people finally began to look at Link. It turned out that he was a master hired by the casino, and the other party had figured out all 4 of them. Sloane looked at Link curiously, but did not speak. The same was true for old Antonio. The woman seemed very interested in Link. The most impatient one was Santino. He looked at Link with some annoyance. His temper just now made him look like a fool. Link's previous judgment was correct. There was a competitive relationship between the siblings. Now Santino felt that his previous actions had caused his father's dissatisfaction. And now Link's killing spree made him look stupid, which was very unfavorable to his future. Link didn't care about the other party's fiery eyes and continued to win. This money was not small, enough for him to buy another batch of Stark Industries stocks. And the tax payment time had passed. He could wait until next year to pay taxes next time. He had plenty of time. Smoking a cigar and tasting bourbon from time to time, Jessica also relaxed at this time, watching Link's killing with great interest, and even stood up to pour herself a glass of champagne. Before 12 o'clock, Link won all the chips. Sloane stood up and clapped his hands, saying, "Very good, the young man's skills are very good." Link also stood up and said, "I am a professional gambler. I am best at psychology. If you need me, you can always find me. I am active in New York. Of course, you are a good opponent. Can you give me a business card?" Sloane didn't care about losing $10 million at all. Link gave him a business card. Sloane didn't leave anything behind. He turned to old Antonio and said, "We all lost. This time it's a tie." Then he left directly. Link didn't know what the 2 sides talked about, but he didn't care much. Old Antonio also looked at Link and said, "Young man, do you want to be hired?" "No, I don't. I have never lost since my debut. Once I accept someone's hiring, I will definitely win." Link shook his head, "But then the gambling will not be under my control." "That makes sense." Old Antonio nodded, then turned and left. His daughter gave Link a wink, then turned and left. But that Saint Dino raised his hand and pointed at Link before turning and leaving. Jessica asked at this time, "Dear, will there be any trouble?" "No, how could there be any trouble?" Link smiled disdainfully, "Okay, we won a lot this time, we can go home." Turning to the hotel manager, he said, "Change it into cash and deposit it in my account." "Okay, Mr. Lin," the other party said very politely. However, when Link received the call from the bank, he knew that this casino was not so generous. They not only deducted the previous more than 400, but also took a 10% commission. Link only got a little over 40 million, but he would not come back to this company again, it was not generous at all. The next day, the 2 of them left the hotel by car and flew back to New York. Link invested another $1 million and then deposited $5 million into Jessica's account. He found Langley and bought less than 3,000 Stark Industrial stocks again, leaving the remaining millions for living expenses. Every morning at 9 o'clock, McCall would come to the underground parking lot of the apartment, and after Jessica went downstairs and got in the car, he would take Jessica to the office of the charity fund, which had been decorated, and now Jessica went there for recruitment every day. Some relevant personnel still need to be recruited in full. After all, the foundation now has stocks worth $90 million. Link also has a position here, which is the investment director, and he is responsible for the investment of the foundation. Jessica is mainly responsible for charity matters, and the foundation needs to review the free cases accepted by the law firm, which involves a lot of situations. Criminal cases generally do not generate income, but civil compensation cases do. Once the lawsuit is won, it will not be included in the funding sequence, and the attorney fees will be charged as usual. Link will not work at the foundation for the time being, because there is no need for investment, and he is a bit idle now. Card games are not held every day, and there are only a few games a month, usually on weekends. Link took the car keys, got up and went downstairs, drove his car, and merged into the traffic in New York amid the roar. He did not think about what else he could do, because starting from next year, he would probably be very busy, so the current free time is only temporary. When Link was driving and doing nothing, he suddenly found someone staring at him, which was easy to find. This was the first time that he was actually stared at. Even Wilson Fisk did not send anyone to stare at him, so combined with recent events, he could easily guess who it was. That's Santino Antonio. Link's car started to drive towards Hell's Kitchen. Entering the area of Hell's Kitchen, he chose a secluded parking lot, then parked the car, got the keys, and walked away. The stalker also stopped the car and followed him on foot, and Link walked into an alley. The stalker followed him into the alley, but Link's figure disappeared. He immediately became alert and took out a pistol with a silencer. Holding the gun in both hands, he walked forward cautiously. There were a lot of debris and trash cans in the alley. The stalker searched carefully. But he didn't know that Link was floating above his head. He came here just to avoid some surveillance. Link quietly fell down, and behind the other party, he stretched out his hand and pinched the back of the other party's neck, and then lifted it. The stalker instantly pinched his neck with a huge force, and his feet left the ground. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't move at all. He held the gun with one hand and wanted to pass through his armpit and shoot from behind, but the pistol was taken away by the other party in an instant. Bang! Link snatched the other party's pistol, and then threw the man directly against the wall beside him, knocking him unconscious. When the other party came to his senses, he sat on the ground against the wall and looked up at himself in horror. Link smiled and asked, "Okay, now tell me, why are you following me? And you are holding a pistol with a silencer. You obviously want to kill me, right?" The stalker said nothing and just looked at Link. Link pointed the gun at the other's forehead and said, "I will count to 3. If you don't say anything, then there is no need to say anything. 3, 2, you can't escape. You've been rewarded. The killer will keep finding you and then kill you." The other party finally spoke, and Link also understood that he was actually rewarded. He asked curiously, "How much am I worth?" $300,000. The other party did not hide it, and then grinned, "You're dead." "Where is the reward for me?" Link asked. "I don't need to know the name of the employer, I just need to know where the reward for me is. How about it?" "Continental Hotel," the killer said. "Are you going?" Puff puff. Link fired 2 shots in a row and killed the man directly. Then he squatted down and searched. He found 2 spare magazines, some cash and 2 gold coins on the killer's upper body. Holding the gold coins, Link observed carefully and was curious in his heart. Is there a Continental Hotel in this world? He turned around and left with the gun, returned to the parking lot and drove away, then took out his phone and called Coulson. "Do you know the Continental Hotel?" "Yes, what's the matter?" Coulson asked. "Send me the address, I want to go and see." Link didn't say that he was wanted. He just happened to have nothing to do now, so he might as well go and see. "No problem, I'll send it to you now." Coulson hung up the phone and sent the address. He didn't worry about Link. Link's strength is not weak. Whether it's shooting or fighting, plus his psychological attainments, he will generally not have any problems. Just like he won't worry about Hawkeye and Black Widow. Link doesn't have his own code name yet, because these code names are not given by S.H.I.E.L.D., but are made up by himself. Link looked at the text message, then stepped on the accelerator and ran directly to the Continental Hotel. Soon, he arrived at the Continental Hotel, which was built on a triangular land with the main entrance in a corner, which is relatively small. Link parked at the door, handed the key and tip to the doorman, and walked in directly. As soon as he entered the door, he saw the front desk opposite him. There was only a bald black man wearing a pair of glasses. It was indeed the Continental Hotel he knew. This front desk was probably Karen, the right-hand man of Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel in New York. Stepping to the front desk, Link asked, "How can I see your manager?" "Sir, do you have an appointment?" Karen saw a stranger. He had almost the impression of ordinary people. After all, he had been a receptionist here for a long time. "No, but I think Mr. Winston would want to see me. After all, I should have been rewarded by you just now." Link grinned. "I need an explanation for this matter." Karen's pupils shrank. It was the first time that a person with a reward came here and stood in front of him to ask for an explanation. "Please wait." Karen picked up the phone and then dialed it. After waiting for a few seconds, the other party picked up the phone. "Sir, there is a guest with a reward who wants to see you." Oh, Winston was also stunned. This was also the first time he encountered this, but it was obvious that the other party had the confidence. "Okay, bring him to the garden," Winston said and put down the phone. He was thinking about who this person was. After all, the daily bounty was not small. Karen put down the phone and said, "Please follow me. Mr. Winston is waiting for you." Link followed directly, and the two soon came to the terrace garden of the hotel. Winston sat at a long table, smoking a cigar and drinking tea. The sun was good today. Link walked over and came directly to Winston's side, which made Karen very nervous. After all, the other party was not one of them and might not know the rules of the Continental Hotel. However, Link did not do anything out of the ordinary. Instead, he opened the cigar box in front of Winston, took out a cigar, and then put it under his nose and smelled it. Good stuff. Link picked up the cigar cutter, cut it at the tail, and then walked to the opposite side of Winston and sat down. "Tell me, is it the bounty of Santino Antonio?" Link took out a lighter and toasted the cigar as if this was his territory. Winston smiled and said, "Young man, you are very courageous." "No, it's you who are courageous. You dare to offer a bounty on anyone." Link held the cigar in his mouth, lit it, and took a deep breath. After savoring it for a while, he exhaled smoke rings one by one. He is dead, and he needs to pay a heavy price before he dies. I must let people know that I can't be manipulated at will. Winston was stunned, and then asked, "Young man, I remember you. Your name is K. Lin, a Chinese. We did offer a bounty on you, but you can rest assured that killing is not allowed in the Continental Hotel, but once you walk out of here, it's hard to say." Hee, Link laughed, but then he continued to smoke the cigar, thinking in his heart whether he should use the identity of S.H.I.E.L.D. If he used this identity, it would undoubtedly be the simplest, but once he used it, he would not be able to continue his cover identity as a professional gambler. He likes his current identity very much, and Coulson did not let him participate in the mission of the Destroyer and the Society before, just to let him keep the status quo. Link took another puff and said, "It seems that you are not going to cancel it." "Of course," Winston said, "the Continental Hotel will only be cancelled if the employer cancels it, but that will also cost a price." "Very well, I will be here tonight. I hope you are ready." Link said, "We are each responsible for all consequences." Winston was in disbelief and asked, "Are you kidding me?" "Of course not. You can prepare as many people as possible. I will use you as my stepping stone. I just remembered that I still lack a title." Link looked up at the sky. "This opportunity is good. I will step on you. Go up there and this will be my fight for fame." Quote. Winston felt that the person in front of him was a madman. "Do you know what you are talking about? Is there any difference?" Link asked back. "I have already been offered a reward. Although it is only $300,000, the trouble will continue. Since the trouble cannot be solved, then solve the troublemaker. This method is not very good. Okay. Thank you for the cigar. Link stood up, holding a cigar in his mouth, and then took out 2 gold coins from his suit pocket. Ding ding. It was like a reward. Remember to prepare more people. I will arrive on time at midnight. If there are few people, I will be very disappointed. After saying that, Link walked away. Karen looked at Link's back, then turned around and asked, "Sir, what should we do now?" Winston's face was gloomy. He had been in the Continental Hotel in New York for more than 40 years, and this was the first time he encountered such a situation. However, he did not allow the other party's provocation, but the question was, would the other party really come? Notify Santino and ask him to come here and prepare manpower. The Continental Hotel does not allow provocation, Winston said, picked up the phone, and then dialed it. He called old Antonio. "Mr. Antonio, your son has issued a bounty at the Continental Hotel in New York. The other party came to the door and threatened to attack here tonight. Do you know who the other party is?" Quote. Old Antonio did not know about his son's affairs. He had a terminal illness and would soon die. Sloan, who had met in Las Vegas before, was the leader of the Assassins' League. The other party's Assassins' League had a long history of thousands of years, and they had no conflicts with each other before. However, the code of conduct of the Assassins' League changed a few years ago, and there was friction between the two sides, but the assassins of the Assassins' League were more powerful than the killers of the Continental Hotel, that is, they had too few people. The negotiation between the two sides was mainly to prevent the Assassins' League from entering Italy. After all, that was the family's base camp. Both sides lost at the gambling table, so it was a draw. I didn't know about this matter, so Lin is a professional gambler, but he actually said so now. It seems not simple. Old Antonio said, "You can go all out. If you need the help of the council, then I can help. I don't need help here for the time being, but I want Santino to come over at night." Winston said. "Okay, since he provoked it, then I will let him go." Old Antonio hung up the phone. Link drove back home, then opened his small arsenal, then frowned, and then closed it again. He turned around and left home again, drove to the industrial area, found a small processing plant, and asked them to make a throwing knife for him. This time it was an indoor battle, and it didn't necessarily require firearms. He took $50,000 to the boss and asked them to start making throwing knives with all their strength now. Link made it according to the style of willow leaf throwing knives. With his own strength, it is enough to shoot through any bulletproof suit. He didn't plan to use his own weapons. After all, his weapons were all from S.H.I.E.L.D. This time, S.H.I.E.L.D. support was not needed. It was just the Continental Hotel in New York. And he also wanted to have some characteristics. After all, Hawkeye, Black Widow and even Iron Knight were all code names he had typed out, so he had to type out one himself. He called Jessica and asked her to go to Trass's house at night, and then hung up the phone without explaining. Jessica must be worried, but she would be more worried if he explained it now. Link also understood that he couldn't always appear too weak and low-key. It was good for the casino to ask him to participate in the game, but the guests didn't follow the rules, and the casino also looked at the people and served them. Most people wouldn't do this, and this Santino was obviously too arrogant. Link combined the Continental Hotel and also thought of this guy, who was a villain in John Wick. This guy had no moral bottom line. In order to get a seat at the high table, he hired a killer to kill his own sister, and then offered a reward for the killer's life, calling it revenge for his sister. On the road of not doing anything, he has been going further and further away. He lost the card game and asked for a killer. He didn't care about the money, but his face. He felt that Link made him lose face, which was not uncommon for him. And Link could easily guess that it was him. Now he was given a chance. In S.H.I.E.L.D., he was not a core member for the time being. Nick Fury might be interested in training him, but he still lacked a record. Then he would use the Continental Hotel in New York as his stepping stone. It was not until 10 o'clock in the evening that Link stopped the factory and checked it. There were hundreds of willow leaf throwing knives. The processing capacity of the small factory was not strong, and they did not have a mold. For this reason, they first made a mold and then started to work. $50,000 was worth their one-day stoppage to serve Link. Link left with his things. He was wearing a pair of jeans, Martin boots, and a black cotton t-shirt. He tied a sports waist bag around his waist, put all the scimitars in it, and drove to the Continental Hotel, arriving an hour early. He stopped far away, got out of the car and leaned against it, then took out a cigar and a bottle of bourbon, put the wine on the hood, and then carefully handled the cigar. For an hour, he planned to slowly enjoy a cigar and a bottle of bourbon. In the hotel, Winston was drinking tea in the terrace garden, and there were dozens of killers sitting or standing in the lobby on the first floor, and there were killers in each room. Winston did not use the power of the hotel this time, but summoned a large number of killers here, and the reward of $300,000 was not a small amount. And Santino Antonio was also in the terrace garden. He didn't think it was a big deal at this time. He didn't believe that the arrogant guy could come here. If it weren't for his father's order, he wouldn't come here. Winston, you are too cautious. Do you really think that person can kill here? Santino asked. No, I don't think so, but he was the first guy to provoke the Continental Hotel. Winston said, so we must take it seriously and make him pay the price to warn those who come later. Winston didn't tell the truth. He actually thought there were two possibilities. One was that Link was killed to warn others. The other possibility was that Link really came here, and then he was ready to hand over Santino. As for the future, it would take the high table to solve it. He didn't intend to use his own power. There were also people from Santino outside, guarding the entrance to the terrace garden. Link looked at the time. There were still 5 minutes to 0, and he couldn't be late. He picked up the bottle and drank it in one breath, then walked over slowly with a cigar, and at the same time reached his hands into his waist bag and took out a throwing knife from it. He came to the door and looked at the time. It was a few seconds late, so he just stepped into the door directly. The moment he entered, the assassins in the lobby looked over. Link bit his cigar and smiled, hi. ... Everyone moved and began to draw their guns. They did not leave their weapons outside. Swish. Link raised his hands and the flying knife in his hand flew out directly, puff, puff. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.